RFK Jr. was on the Hill today getting grilled by Democrats, and it was as combative as you might expect. The usual suspects had plenty of criticism for RFK's takes on vaccines. Some people were talking about his take on abortion. Mostly they were just making fools of themselves. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Donald Trump signed an order to combat anti-Semitism on campuses, vows action against Hamas sympathizers. That's going to be problematic considering the First Amendment and all, but we'll get into it. Donald Trump has also signed an executive order to defund schools teaching CRT, radical gender ideology, which personally I think is great because I don't even believe in gender, never mind gender ideology. Then we're going to talk about Donald Trump is going to send 30,000 illegal immigrants to Guantanamo Bay. He says it's a tough place to get out of. I mean, it's an island, so, you know, it makes sense. Cuba, I mean. Then we'll get into Trump made an ultimatum to federal workers: return to the office or be terminated. And all of that sounds great to me. Like we have to get rid of a lot of people in the federal government, and any excuse we can come up with for firing them is going to be great, in my opinion. And lastly, Bob Menendez. He was sentenced today. Homeboy had gold bars stuffed into the pockets of his suits in his closet, and he was actually found guilty. So he's going to go to jail for 11 years. It's going to be a nice jail. You know, it's going to be one of the jails where you can play golf, and he'll have, you know, outdoor privileges and stuff like that. It's not one of those real rough ones. But we'll get into that. But before we do, go buy coffee. Castbrew.com. Go over to castbrew.com. Get yourself some coffee. You can get yourself 2 weeks till Christmas, which has got me dressed up like Santa Claus.
Let's go!
Kind of a buffed Santa Claus at the time. I was a little on the pumpy side. You can go and get Alex Stein's Primetime Grind if you decide to quit the cocaine, but you want, you know, similar effects from your coffee. I think we still have some more of Ian's Graphene Dream. Do we have any more? Where does it say? Oh, no, we are sold out. If you didn't get your Ian's Graphene Dream in the past couple days, you're out of luck. I don't know if they're going to do more. I imagine they will because it's been selling so well. So we're going to do, so you can go on over there and buy some Cast Brew coffee. Then head on over to Boonies HQ and you can buy yourself skateboards. And the newest one that Tim's all pumped about is called the 28th Amendment. It reads, chickens being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep, bear, and breed chickens shall not be infringed. You know, it's a good idea to have the ability to take care of yourself, whether that be a skateboard for transportation, chickens for food, or, you know, maybe a little pew-pew for the inspiration for the 28th Amendment. And then we want you to head on over to timcast.com and become a member. You can join us there. You can become a member of the Discord. You'll have member privileges. You'll be able to hang out with like-minded individuals. You can call into the show. We do the after show for an hour with members only. You can call in and we'll ask us questions, ask our guest questions. So head on over there and join us. Now remember, smash the like button. Share the show with your friends. We're going to talk about all these things and more. And right now, to get us started, we've got Shawn Hendrix.
Hey, thanks. Shawn Hendrix. I'm with Here We Grow, which is more known as Operation Shelter. We've been doing charity work up in Western North Carolina for the last 4 months. And thanks for having me on.
Awesome. So you've been doing stuff with the hurricane relief.
Yeah. Huh? It started out, I just went up to deliver some Starlinks, and I tweeted it, posted at Elon and said, hey, Elon, these things are a nightmare to set up. Can you just please make them free for us? And he retweeted me and said, sure, tomorrow we'll make them all free. And awesome. It kind of just took off from there, and just one thing led to another. JD Vance reached out to me on X and was kind of asking, like, what do you need? And so that just brought a lot of awareness to what I was doing. And so I've just been a voice for the people of Western North Carolina that the last regime basically ignored.
That's awesome, man. This is a side note, I don't think we're going to talk about this on the show, but you hear that Elon Musk was nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize today?
I mean, he saved lives in Western North Carolina. I mean, we have people who needed heart medicine that if we didn't have Starlink up there, they wouldn't have got it in time.
Yep.
And they most likely would have died.
That's
so,
great
I mean, he's protecting free speech and free communication.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming. We got Mary Morgan here.
Hi, everyone. I'm back. My name is Mary Morgan. I co-host Pop Culture Crisis here at Timcast. I'm back on Philcast.
She said that I can't look at her today.
You're not allowed to look at me.
get-
No knowing glances are allowed in my direction.
I got to do this.
Hi, Raymond.
Hello, everyone. I'm Raymond G. Stanley Jr. You can find me everywhere in the world as Raymond G. Stanley Jr. I am your local blue-collar, moderate, right-leaning, nationalist, semi-anti-authoritarian. All right, I look forward to tonight's show.
All right.
Wait. Can you repeat that? What are you again?
I am your local blue-collar, moderate, right-leaning,
Okay.
nationalist,
Okay.
semi-authoritarian.
Have you thought about it?
Semi-authoritarian.
Only when I want to be,
Okay.
and when it suits my needs.
Got it.
That's
I've been working on my intro, Let's get this, working on it. Bill's got a whole thing. I was like, I got to
I
do
like
something
that.
like
Express yourself.
Yeah. Good stuff. All right. So CNN reports that RFK Jr. clashes with Democrats over past comments about vaccines and abortion rights. Look, it was all grandstanding, right? Like the Democrats don't like RFK now because RFK had a different opinion on the COVID vaccine. And so they're saying, oh, well, he's an anti-vaxxer, which he's totally disavowed over and over and over. I think that he wrote a book where the first thing that he said in it is he's not against vaccines, and literally the last thing he said in it, he's not against vaccines. So it's all just that kind of Democrats looking to be able to have a clip that they can put up and they can go to their constituents and say, look, I was tough on Trump's appointees. But CNN reports Washington Senate Democrats grilled Robert F. Kennedy Jr. over his various controversial statements, including his stance on vaccines during his confirmation hearing to be President Donald Trump's Health and Human Services Secretary, and most left feeling overwhelmingly unsatisfied by the answers they received. No crap. They're Democrats, and it's Donald Trump's appointment. The only person that coasted through and was ever likely to coast through was Marco Rubio, because he was one of them. He was a senator, and the Senate is a big nose in the air, we're better than you club. And guess what? If you're not a senator, you're not in it, you're going to get treated like crap. But do you guys think that RFK got garbage because of the fact that he is, I guess I would say he has opinions counter to what the predominant left-leaning Democrat opinion is? Or do you think that there's actually substance to the things that they're giving him garbage about?
I think it's mostly because he walked away from the party. There's nothing they hate more.
Okay, yeah.
I got a friend of mine up in West North Carolina that is very popular on X now who walked away from the party. He gets attacked nonstop by the left. I don't get anything because they know where I stand. So I think a lot of it just has to do with it. He betrayed. How dare he betray us? So they're going to burn him down.
I didn't think about that, but that's a really great point.
What is his actual stance on vaccines if he's not anti-vax?
So he was critical of the COVID vaccine, which...
Is he just anti-mandate? That's all?
No, he was critical of the vaccine because technically the COVID vaccine, the way that the mRNA vaccines work, they're not like other vaccines. So he was critical of it, and he was like, this has been rushed out, et cetera, and so he was critical of the way that it was administered and critical of the science behind it and stuff.
That's one thing that Trump never did, which really frustrated me because he needed to take credit for the vaccine.
Yeah.
Even though everyone was talking about how there were questionable symptoms people were experiencing, he had this ego thing about it because he was the one who fast-tracked it.
Yep.
So he needed to take credit for the accomplishment of...
That's typical Donald Trump, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Whether you like him or not, like whether you're pro Donald Trump
And
or
I
not.
do like him, but that is really frustrating, and it sounds like RFK went further to criticize it than Trump ever would.
Yeah, I think you're 100% on point there. And I think that the Democrats, they're so quick to fall in line with whatever, because whatever the establishment says, because the Democrats are the arbiters of popular opinion and what is acceptable opinion. Whatever the establishment says, they're the ones that are going to get behind it and say that if you're stepping out of line, you're terrible. And now we see, the CIA has said, okay, yeah, it's likely that COVID was a lab leak and it didn't come from, a bat that was a stew. Yeah, CIA has admitted that. Yeah.
When did that happen?
Like 2 days ago or something like that.
And
I'm not keeping up. I don't know what's going on at this point. They said that?
Yeah.
Okay.
the truth is coming out.
Yeah, we're running out of conspiracy theories at this point.
And the Democrats, what they do is all they do is grandstand. No matter who it is. Only Rubio because he is one of them. They liked Rubio, but they're going to yell and grill at everyone that comes onto in front of them and make it like cool to what they're doing, which is we're going to get some people down the road on this with Elizabeth Warren and whatnot, which is going to be exciting. But he's more safety oriented. Like, he wants to get research into his vaccines. He just doesn't want to like, okay, it's a vaccine. Like Pocahontas was like, you have to say, and the other guy will say, you have to see if to pledge allegiance to vaccines. You don't have to pledge allegiance to any vaccines. You want to make sure you search them, research them, and long studies to make sure that they're right.
You know, I do have
That's
a
his
problem with
stance.
RFK though,
About what?
because he wants to take away my Taco Bell.
Oh,
He
that's
wants to
not-
take
He
away
actually-
my seed oils, my fast food.
Okay, so he said
You love your Taco
he
Bell.
specifically said today, if you like fast food, you should be able to get fast food.
You like your healthcare provider. You
Look, man, he's not. He's not. Fair enough, but he's not Barack Obama.
No,
But
I'm just kidding.
I don't think that. I don't think that his motivation is to prohibit anything. I think except for possibly things like the dyes that are harmful in the foods that are totally unnecessary. Like, it's all just about, they're putting dyes in food so that way they have a certain aesthetic. And other countries have the same foods, the same brand names and everything. And I mean, I've been all over Europe. I've been to Europe like 15 times. I've been all over, many, many Western countries. And like the food, it's the same. Like, just because it doesn't have like the red dye or whatever dye you want to discuss, it's still the same.
Don't tell
stuff.
me you're one of those people who says that you lose 10 pounds every time
No.
you go to Europe.
No, I go to Europe. Every time I go to Europe, I gain weight because I'm not going to the gym and not doing cardio.
Everybody
Okay,
walks in
finally
Europe.
someone said it.
I'm just
I never heard that
honest
before.
person.
Everyone's always
No,
like,
I see these posts all the time that are like, it's because there are no seed oils in Europe, and they really just want to brag about the fact that they went on vacation.
the
in
thing
Europe.
is
but
they walk.
they're
Yeah,
like,
check their
I
steps."
lost 10 pounds when I went to Europe because there aren't poisons in the food.
No, you walked 27,000 steps. That's
Yeah,
why you lost
that's-
weight.
Exactly,
Yes.
100%. Because you're not jumping into a car and everything. And to be honest with you, like European cities, being that most of them are very, very, very old, they're mostly set up so that way you can walk to areas that are, walk around and get all the stuff you need for the most part, because they were built when everybody had to hoof it everywhere.
Well, Amsterdam's, it's faster to walk in Amsterdam than it is to take a car. You go on Google Maps and it's like 7 minutes walk, 14 minutes car because it's just not designed
The
for it.
roads are so thin over there.
Oh, yeah.
They're just tiny. Like, I was in Greece and it's a lot of places, but just they're this big
Yeah.
compared to our roads. We have room to park on the side. They don't have that over there.
Yeah.
I mean, look, we were talking to, I forget his name. He was a Polish MP, and he was here when we were in DC.
Dominic Tarzinski.
Dominic, that's it. He was, and he was talking about Poland has been a country since like 900 AD.
Yeah.
So it's like you're talking about a place that's almost 1,200 years, 1,300 years, or whatever, and it's like, so yeah, the streets and the stuff, the layout of the streets and stuff is going to be geared towards people walking around. So.
Can I just make a comment really fast as well?
Please.
Because I think like this is something that I feel like the right could be behind. I don't know why we're not saying let's make public works. Let's
100%.
why don't we just say like let's renew the interstate? I don't know if everyone's seen on their local interstate, but there's a lot of places that could use some work. Why don't we fund this in a better way than saying, oh well, if you don't make 21-year-olds drinking age, like what's with all this stuff? Like there should be public works in the United States, rebuild the bridges. There's so much stuff we could be doing, like all the parks and stuff. Like I lived in LA for a long time. Look at Pershing Park. That place is scary now. Yeah. It used to be like an amazing place, and now it's like terrifying to be around. I wouldn't go there.
Walking Dead.
Yeah.
So a lot of the stuff you're talking about is actually state level stuff. So like the funding for the interstates, sure, that kind
right.
of
That's
stuff.
and I realize that, but I'm just saying like I don't see why we aren't pushing for that. Why aren't we pushing for more expansion of things that are helping us? We have control of the federal government. We have the tools. We should use them. We never do ever in the past. We're always like, oh, pump the brakes there, Sonny, with the Democrats. That's not what you're doing right now.
I mean, Eisenhower did a whole lot with the interstate system,
Yeah.
by setting up the interstate system, and that came because he went to Europe and looked at what the
At the Audubon, et
what
cetera.
the Germans had done
Right.
in with their infrastructure and stuff. That is all downstream from progressive policy. So I think that you would get pushback from the right on that, at least when it comes to the modern right that says, oh, we want to see a small government that doesn't have their hand in everything, and we don't want to fund everything. If you've got Doge and you're talking about actually trying to shrink the government, then you're gonna run into that kind of conflict. But remember, anytime we talk about funding anything, mandatory spending is where it's at. We can cut all of the discretionary spending out that we want, and it's not going to change the fundamental breakdown of Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid are what's driving the debt. And so we need to do something about those. So I get what you're saying. And honestly, the amount of money that would be spent on projects like that would be minuscule when you compare it to
the rest of the stuff. Yeah,
when you compare it to the mandatory spending. It's true. So I want to go to this from Timcast News. Senator Ron Johnson presents additional evidence showing how the Biden administration concealed Anthony Fauci's awareness of the link between COVID vaccines and myocarditis at RFK Jr. Senate hearing. It is great to hear that even though this is a hearing about RFK, we're continuing to uncover how absolutely terrible Anthony Fauci was in his position. And some of the things that I've heard, I don't know if it's actually in this clip, but I heard they were talking about emails that they get from Fauci's office and stuff where the whole thing's redacted. There is no reason for anything coming from HHS or from the Health and Human Services. There's no reason for any of that to be redacted, because if they're redacting it, then what are they hiding? Something that might be bad for the American people? The point of HHS is to make sure that the health and well-being of the American people is taken as the top priority. So let's go ahead and listen to this bit here. And
oversight letters to the federal health agencies under the Biden administration. I've virtually gotten squat out of them. Okay, what I get is we get, for example, 50 pages of Anthony Fauci's emails.
That's insane.
Redacted.
Unacceptable.
By the way, the latest one was 17 pages. Instead of issuing a health alert on the myocarditis they knew was impacting young men early in 2021, instead of issuing an alert on the Health Alert Network, they developed 17 pages of talking points. This was given to the public under a FOIA request. They had to go to court. They've got a new way of redacting. They don't black things out. They just give you white pages, so you don't even know what they have redacted.
Wild.
So again, I've issued a subpoena now to cover the information I've requested in 70 oversight letters. My question to you is, as Secretary of HHS, will you honor these requests from Congress, and will you make HHS transparent?
Yeah, my approach to HHS, as I said before, Senator, is radical transparency. Democrats and Republicans ought to be able to come in and get information that was generated at taxpayer expense, that is owned by the American taxpayer. They shouldn't get redacted documents. Public health agencies should be transparent. And if we want Americans to restore trust in the public health agencies, we need transparency.
Look, if their primary concern, like I said earlier, if their primary concern is not to make sure that the health and well-being of the American people is at its best or at the top of the list of things to do, then it's unfit for purpose entirely. Yep. There's no reason for it to exist if it's not going to be saying, look, these are the things that are bad for the American people. These are the things that are good for the American people. Y'all can do what you want, but at least when you come to us, we're going to give you the information that says these are the bad things, these are good things. Redacted emails. It is entirely unacceptable that Anthony Fauci would have any kind of redacted emails unless he's got some kind of top secret clearance. But even then, you should know that he's got a top secret clearance, and you should be made aware. Look, this is pertinent to national security. But it wasn't. As far as I know, Fauci doesn't have a top secret clearance, and he shouldn't be involved in any kind of program that would be considered classified.
It's interesting, though. Two things I was asking when I was on Capitol Hill to my senators was, I want food freedom and medical transparency. So I was super glad to hear we're talking about medical transparency. We just want to see the data. Like, when it comes to health, there's nothing to hide. Unless you're doing something shady, then that's the first thing I think. And seeing those just pages of white paper with nothing on them is infuriating. And so I'm glad that happened because I asked both senators about this and they got to hear it firsthand. Tillis was sitting right next to him when he asked that question. And I talked to Tillis' chief of staff and said, we need medical transparency. So I hope that clicked with him. That's why we want you to vote for RFK.
I mean, that was you stole my talking point, but if you are giving blank pages out to the American people, you're definitely hiding something.
Yeah.
It's like a preemptive pardon. So there's something going on here that you're not going to give us the full information. And Americans' health is huge. Like, what the F? We're 40% fatties. And we're not going to tell.
40%
No.
fatties?
Yeah.
It's set. Look, he was
high.
talking today.
Is it?
75%. 75% is either obese or overweight. Now I don't know the
Maybe
exact.
40% obese.
Okay.
Yeah.
My
The
terminology is
rest
a
being
little off.
just overweight. Yeah.
Think about
40% is too much.
Yeah, bro.
Like, I mean, we talk about this on PCC a lot. Bring back aspirational. Like, part of the reason why, and it's not the total reason, but part of the reason why there's so many people that are overweight and stuff is because of things like fat acceptance and like people and putting, overweight models in Calvin Klein
Or
ads.
suing Uber because you can't fit into the car.
Oh God! Did you see that woman? Did you guys cover that on PCC yet?
Not yet. I think we will. But we have been talking about Ozempic a lot because the first high-profile examples of people using Ozempic was in Hollywood. And there have been multiple cases now of high-profile celebrities ruining their lives and their quality of life by using Ozempic as their last-ditch effort to lose weight, including Sharon Osbourne, I believe.
How do they ruin
She went
their
on
lives?
Ozempic, and then after she had lost a significant amount of weight, went off of it because it went way too far. And since she has gone off of Ozempic, she has not been able to even gain that weight back. And she looks like a husk of who she used to be. And then we were just talking about this other girl who's like an influencer, a singer named Avery. And she actually accessed Ozempic by some black market. She did not get prescribed by a doctor because she didn't have diabetes and she wasn't obese. It's getting very easy to access Ozempic off market. There's a whole like resale black market for it now. And she went on social media and told her followers, I went on Ozempic because I'm mentally ill. I got addicted to it. And now I've just been diagnosed at she's like 30 with osteoporosis, which is irreversible, which it can be deadly.
Yep.
And this is going to affect her for the rest of her life. So she's like raising awareness about it. But there are so many people going to that drastic measure because people know deep down when they're being lied to. And there was just a resounding message from the media, from celebrities and entertainers, but also so-called experts in health and nutrition, all of them for like 10, 15 years telling you it's not just healthy, but it's also beautiful to be overweight. And people know that they look and feel like shit that way.
do
So
you think-
that's why they're going to these extremes.
Do you think that, so this is like the pendulum swinging back? Do you think that this is part of that kind of like backlash against the it's okay to be overweight, it's okay to be, everyone is
'cause
beautiful?
All of these people were just pretending that they
100%.
thought that was beautiful.
Look at Lizzo,
All
example.
of these people who even the people who were fat who are now on Ozempic were just lying to themselves and everyone around them the entire time, including Oprah. I mean, she was an ambassador for Weight Watchers for the longest time and promoted using your willpower and self-control to restrict your portion sizes to lose weight, which is actually really good advice.
Yeah, that's actually real good advice.
Maybe not advice that she was putting into practice for herself, but then she spoke out against Ozempic, and then she outs herself for being on Ozempic in order to lose weight and completely shifts the narrative and says, I just realized, I magically woke up one day and realized that fat people are fat because we were just born with food noise. Where we're just tortured with intrusive thoughts of food all the time. And if you're skinny, if you're not overweight, it just means you were born without food noise in your brain.
There's a little bit to that, though. Like your hunger signaling is a real thing, right? People who don't have a high hunger signal, which is what GLP-1 inhibitors reduce, like you're just hunger signaled, and the food is much more calorie dense than it used to be. So you can take in a lot more calories before you get full, which puts you in a calorie surplus because you're not moving. But with GLP-1 inhibitors, it takes away that signal to eat. So what they're doing is they're starving themselves without feeling like they're starving. That's where the bone loss and the muscle loss, because imagine you're in a bodybuilder prep cut, you don't ever feel hungry, you're not lifting, so your body's just ripping your muscle for energy.
Yeah.
So you end up skinny with no muscle mass. They're still 30% body fat. They're just skinny fat.
Yeah, we don't know the long-term effects.
Yeah.
of
Everyone
stuff
wants
like
to be
that yet.
Eugenia Cooney.
Pretty much,
Yeah. She's the model.
Who's Eugenia Cooney?
She's that really.
She's she's like a
She knows
famous
more.
YouTuber. She's been in the public eye for many years,
Is
but
that the
she's
girl that looks like a
Yes.
skeleton?
she's emaciated. She's emaciated, and
Oh, gosh.
and she's tried to deny it, but it's very clear that she does have an eating disorder, and there are a lot of children that watch her channel. It's extremely destructive, the influence that she has. I don't even know if she knows that, or if her mind is just so like on another planet.
That's where
She
my
can't think.
semi-authoritarian comes
If
in.
you look like that, you
Right there.
can't think. You can't actually use your brain.
Yeah.
It'd be tough. Yeah, I was over 300 pounds a few years ago. And so when people tell you, it's like, oh, yeah, fat's great. No, it's not.
No.
It's not. It's terrible. You can't get up off the ground. You can't breathe after going up the stairs.
Look, I mean,
Self-conscious. Like,
I'm sympathetic. I can be sympathetic to people that like are addicted to things. I used to smoke cigarettes, and there is nothing, if I understand correctly, talking to other addicts, there is nothing harder to quit than nicotine, like because of its availability. I used to drink too much, and I don't drink at all now. I don't drink in any kind of regular way. I don't indulge. I don't get drunk. So I get it, but look, if I can quit smoking cigarettes and quit drinking, you can put the fork down.
yeah, 100%. I lost 80 pounds just calorie deficit. No tricks.
Yeah.
I did.
Well, Ozempic kind of just smashed everyone's magical idea about weight loss because it proved that it was about calorie deficit.
What does it
Yeah,
do?
100%.
What does it? I mean, I don't know much about Ozempic. Does it just not make you hungry?
So I've heard people that I don't think that it doesn't get rid of your appetite, but it does apparently make your ability to resist actually stronger, because I've heard that it works on people that are addicted to other things too. I've heard people they've been experimenting with alcoholics and with drug addicts and using Ozempic as a means to help them beat those, because it helps build up your ability to say no. So
Yeah, I haven't heard that. That's actually new to me. But it's so ghrelin, you have hormones that trigger hunger, and it suppresses those. It's a GLP-1 inhibitor. And so, like, I took a dose just to see what it was like, and it was trizepatide. And I took 2.5 milligram dose, and I was just like, I had to force myself to drink protein shakes for a week, because you take a few bites of food and it feels like you just ate Thanksgiving dinner. You're like, oh, I'm so full, because your body just signals that you're full. And so I'm trying to hit 280 grams of protein a day.
Seriously?
Oh, yeah.
good luck.
I'm trying to pound protein shakes, and I feel like I'm stuffed every time I drink a protein shake. To me, it was terrible. But that's because I was trying to force myself not to lose muscle. I still lost 2 kilos, like in 7 or 8 days. It was crazy.
Wow. Just on being the overweight thing, I was one point in time I was 230 when I was at a time in my life. It's 230. That's huge, ginormous for myself. But I had a hard time tying my shoes.
Yeah, of course.
I would tie my shoes and I'd be like going out of breath, and it was like that's when I knew. That's when I was like, that was my moment of like, wait a second, hold on, Raymond, you can't tie your shoes without like breathing hard. This is insane.
You have to actually want to change, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, most people don't want to, and people don't have the wherewithal. They don't have the wherewithal to do it for themselves, and they kind of need the extra help.
Yeah.
And we're in this hyper abundant society where we're just inundated with an abundant amount of hyper palatable foods, which are chemically altered, and they are full of harmful ingredients. It's true.
I think one of the hardest parts is that it's a struggle where you can take one step forward. It's a difficult step, but you could take 10 steps back so easily. I know for me, just like in the last 4 months being on the road doing hurricane relief, I've put on 15 pounds. I don't even try. Just eating bad food, driving like a trucker. And then 15 pounds feels terrible to me. I don't know how I had 60 more pounds on me, but it's like I took 15. That's going to take me 16 to 18 weeks to lose now.
Yeah.
And I gained it without thinking.
It's frustrating.
you
Yeah.
know, so-
I mean, I've been trying to do put on weight this winter, and I'll start cutting again probably like April or whatever. But I'm pushing 180, 175, 177 this morning, I think, when I got on the scale. That's the biggest I've ever been. Right? And you can feel it.
Oh yeah,
I feel like getting through doors doesn't feel as easy. and I'm talking about like literally, I'm only 10 pounds over what I normally walk around at. 165 lean is what like kind of what I feel really good about. So like, it's not like I'm like significantly larger, but yeah,
it hurts.
Putting on your shoes, I'm like, oh, how come I can't get my feet up to my chest?
When you got a stomach in front of you're trying to do this, and you're like,
yeah.
It's just insane.
I'm usually sitting around 240 at like 19%. Going up to 258, I feel like I'm 306 again. But I just don't know how I lived at 306.
Yeah.
I don't know how I existed.
Yeah. So
go RFK.
I mean, yeah.
The RFK can investigate Ozempic.
I mean, look, if it's there are
long-term effects are going to be for people because it sounds like there are some disasters happening.
It does.
Yeah.
We know the long-term effects of starvation. That's all it is. I don't think when you look at Ozempic, it's
Well, not only
Yeah, but it would literally be safer to just go through that calorie deficit naturally.
100%.
So there has to be something. There has to be a catch. There's always a catch.
The only time it makes sense is if you're diabetic and the weight is a greater risk to your health than the Ozempic is. If you're somewhat healthy, you are crazy to go on Ozempic because you're not going to change your habits. You're going to come off. You have to come off at some point. You titrate up. You got to come back down, and your habits are still going to suck. So you're going to gain the weight back, but you lost muscle. Terrible idea.
So we're going to go on to the next bit that we've got, which is, again, another thing from the hearings today. This is, I'm not even sure who this is. This is Mr. Whitehouse. What was that? Okay, anyways, from Timcast News, Mr. Whitehouse, Senator Whitehouse is talking to RFK and complaining.
Americans are going to need to hear a clear and trustworthy recantation of what you have said on vaccinations, including a promise from you never to say vaccines aren't medically safe when they in fact are, and making indisputably clear that you support mandatory vaccinations against diseases where that will keep people safe. You're in that hole pretty deep. Americans are going to need to hear a clear...
Look, man, I'm very pro the polio vaccine. I think
sense.
that's a
I'm glad you are, Phil.
There was literally a truck outside today in front of the hearing. It said, "Make polio great again." It was an anti-RFK truck.
Oh, God.
And that was what it said.
I mean,
I don't know how I feel about the polio vaccine. I have no idea.
there's no
I have no
polio.
idea what's in it. I have no idea. I'm just willing to admit that.
I'm considering the
And if
fact...
there's been that erosion of trust, what can you expect?
Well, I do think that it's valid to be suspicious and of the NIH or whatever, like that's fair enough, right? Because they've been so irresponsible when it comes to messaging the American people. That's totally legitimate.
40 blank pages.
Yeah, exactly. Just like
There were one or two that had words on it.
Oh yeah.
But the point being, it is legitimate to be skeptical of what they say. But if you look at the history of like the polio vaccine, you look at what America and the world was like, what polio was doing before the polio vaccine, and then you look at what was happening, say, from when the polio vaccine started being given to everyone, which is, I'm not sure when. Can you look that up? Find out when the polio vaccine was?
Yes, sir.
When the polio vaccine began to be administered to say 2000, right? Because that's prior to us getting this kind of weird, clearly getting this kind of weird situation where we should be skeptical of them.
1955, it says, began 1955 with Jonas Salks inactivated the polio vaccine in 1955.
So 45 years it was given, and you didn't see polio. And other than the fact that polio was gone, you didn't see the massive upswing in autism that we do. Like that's a new thing, right? That's not in the past. 50 years, that was in the past 20 or so years when you see a significant increase of autism and stuff like that. So there are vaccines that I think that are clearly a benefit, Right, polio. I think that the measles vaccine.
Chickenpox. I mean,
Well, I didn't get a chickenpox vaccine.
no, I'm sorry,
I
not the
just-
chickenpox. The deadly one, smallpox.
smallpox,
Tetanus.
But
Those.
who gets to decide that?
I honestly,
Government?
You know what? Like, what does it matter what any of us emotionally feel about a vaccine at this table? Like, what does our feelings don't matter. It only matters that we get to choose.
So yeah, I agree that you should be able to choose, but and also I'm not one for like mandatory going to public schools, but I do think it's fine if public schools are like, if your kids don't have these vaccinations, you have to homeschool them. But I'm an advocate of homeschooling anyways,
Right.
so it's not like, to me, that's not a punishment. I'm not like, oh, well, you can't hang out with us. It's like, look, man, I don't want my kids hanging out with you anyways. But I'm gonna give my kids, vaccines like polio vaccine and the
1984 protocol.
yeah,
All vaccines before 1984.
that's not a bad
That's definitely a thing out there.
Are we at like 40 now? Like back in the day, I don't know how many I got. I was a young baby at the time, but now I feel like it's tripled and doubled, or doubled, tripled, quadrupled.
I'm not sure the dates.
You know
I
what?
can't say,
You guys
but
have kids?
Negative, sir.
I don't.
So with our kids, it's a delayed schedule.
okay.
Right? Pre-1984, delayed schedule. And then it's just like, we just do the stuff that works, and we don't do it all at once when they're tiny little babies. You just take your time and get them up to speed. But we're anti-vaxxers because we think that way.
I do think that parents should have the final say. I
course.
don't think that it should be something that the
How about
state.
the only say, not the final say. The only say.
Yeah.
Parents get the only say.
Okay.
Not the final say. No one else gets a say. How about that?
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Do you believe that with transgenders?
I think that's
children?
of course
They're not really transgender. No, I'm
No.
talking to her. Well, I'm just saying, you like only that parents get the only
That's
say.
not health care.
I'm just throwing it out there.
That's
All right.
not health care.
We'll get to that.
We
in a
will
little
get
bit.
to
We'll talk to
that.
that. There'll be considerably less sparring about that one. But I do think that there are a lot of vaccines that are beneficial. That being said, I do think that the attempts by Mr. Whitehouse here to bully
Yes.
RFK into essentially repeating the mantra that he wants, especially considering I think that it's unlikely that Mr. Whitehouse is going to vote for RFK anyways. Any of the people that gave RFK a hard time today, that really grilled him, they've already made up their minds.
Oh, yeah.
This is not about convincing them of anything. This is not about actually, getting them to the point where they say, maybe I would vote for RFK. This is all about grandstanding and about fundraising and about showing their DNC bona fides.
Well, this is like so trite to say, but science is like a religion to them. And like vaccines are a sacrament in their religion. So that's why it's this big monolithic good thing that we have to celebrate because it's a ritual.
Is it really trite? Do you think it's trite?
It is trite to say that it's trite to say that like, whoa, this is like a religion, or like science is like a religion, but it's true.
Even with what he said, you can debunk it immediately with yellow fever vaccine. Like, yellow fever vaccine is not safe for everyone. They don't give it to old people. They don't give it to babies. They don't give it to people who are immunocompromised because it could actually give you yellow fever and cause some side effects. So it's like just the statement he said is not true. There are vaccines that have side effects, and they're known and documented.
Yeah, if I understand correctly, all vaccines have possible
Possibility of side effect. They're not perfectly safe.
So, not that again, this is not to say that we shouldn't have them, but to say that, say that they're all dangerous or whatever, that's not true. But to say that the point is, he's looking for a confirmation or he's looking for RFK to repeat the lines that he wants him to say. And so that's not, like I said, they're not looking for RFK to say anything. They're not looking for RFK to say anything that's going to convince them. They're looking for RFK to say what they want to hear.
Do you know why I think they're wanting him to hear it? Because if they get him to say something that the Democrats agree with, it could cause a few Republicans to fall through the cracks, right? So if they can get him to say something, they know people that are already edgy on him on the Republican side, they may drop their votes, which then gets him unconfirmed, which they look like a hero at that point. You know what I mean? It's grandstanding, but it's also strategy.
And I don't know why you're having this this hearing and they don't let him talk ever. All they do is just yell at him the whole freaking time. Like, don't you want to get questions? Don't you want answers for the questions you're asking instead of just talking for 5 minutes? And
they're like, I just think it's funny how.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's another thing.
I mean, we can go on and to this point, right? We can go on and talk about how
that was my plan.
what?
That was my plan.
Yeah, it's, Nancy Mace was tweeted, speaking of shill, Senator Warren raked in $5.2 million from Big Pharma and the medical industrial complex. We can listen to what
let's do a quick
this
count
interaction here, and you'll see all she does.
I know, I hit my ears right away. I was like,
All she does is scream and yell. So take a listen to this.
Let's do a quick count here of how, as Secretary of HHS, if you get confirmed, you could influence every one of those lawsuits. Well, let me start the list. You could publish your anti-vaccine conspiracies, but this time on U.S. government letterhead, something a jury might be impressed by. You could appoint people to the CDC vaccine panel who share your anti-vax views and let them do your dirty work. You could tell the CDC vaccine panel to remove a particular vaccine from the vaccine schedule. You could remove vaccines from special compensation programs, which would open up manufacturers to mass torts. You could make more injuries eligible for compensation, even if there is no causal evidence. You could change vaccine court processes to make it easier to bring junk lawsuits. You could turn over FDA data to your friends at the law firm, and they could use it however it benefited them. You could change vaccine labeling. You could change vaccine information rules. You could change which claims are compensated in the vaccine injury compensation program. There's a lot of ways that you can influence those future lawsuits and pending lawsuits while you are Secretary of HHS. And I'm asking you to commit right now that you will not take a financial stake in every one of those lawsuits so that what you do as Secretary will also benefit you financially down the line.
I'll comply with all the ethical guidelines.
That's not the question. You and I, you have said
You're asking me, Senator, you're asking me not to sue vaccine pharmaceutical companies. You are. That's exactly what you're doing.
Look, no one should be fooled here.
Boy, Pfizer got their money's worth out of it.
Wait, I stopped listening. Can you recap what she even said? I stopped listening because her voice is just so insufferable.
The long RFK's understanding of it was he was looking for he was under the impression that she was saying you're commit to not suing pharmaceutical companies.
Got it.
But pharmaceutical companies make a whole lot more than just vaccines.
Yes.
They make all kinds of drugs, and they might end up putting out look, there was a time when they had to change how Tylenol was sold because someone put cyanide in Tylenol caplets. Remember back in the day?
wait, whoa.
Right, that old. That's a legitimate lawsuit. So you can't say, oh, this kind of company is beyond is above repercussions or legislation or whatever, because those kind of things can happen. Like when you're making things that people ingest, whether it be food or drugs or whatever, like there can be mistakes and people can be hurt. And you can't promise that you're not going to have some kind of ramifications for them messing up.
Yeah, no one should be protected when they cause damages to the United States citizen of having preemptive no repercussions. Like, it's just not a thing that should exist.
It's very un-American.
Very
un-American. If you're just going to let people do what they want, have their own way, and no repercussions for any illegal actions they do.
Why would they follow into any line of?
They would, yeah, exactly. They can do whatever the F they want.
Yeah, there's no punishment.
She's a ridiculous human being. She really is. She sounded like she was about to burst into tears.
She was.
She always does.
No, that wasn't the question. And this student council as I can't get over the affect that she puts on. It's so student council.
People
she was
voted
so the class president in 7th grade and held on to that forever.
She used to be a Republican.
What?
And she
when was that?
This is probably 15 or so years ago. She was initially elected as a Republican, and I think she was an economics professor, and she had reasonable economics opinions. Very run of the mill. They were not the new modern monetary theory based ideas that she'll run with now. She had very reasonable opinions. You can hear Ben Shapiro talks about it a lot. He'll like whenever her name comes up, he's like, she used to be, a reasonable person that I could actually find agreement with. Now she's just a complete and total shill. But
you have to be in the Democrat Party now. You have to lockstep. There's no room for any disagreement anymore.
Dude, their brains are nuts.
Yeah.
People just they
Their
something
brains are
something
nuts.
happened to them. These people, if she was a Republican, something happened to them, and they just totally forgot common sense and went to crazy world.
Her brain is just a squirrel using a control panel.
But so for some context about that exchange, Senator Warren takes $1.6 million, got $1.6 million from hospitals and nursing homes. She got $644,000 from miscellaneous health organizations, and then she got $625,000 from pharmaceutical health and health products. So look, she's
You're not number 20, bro.
Yeah.
Health services, HMO.
Oh yeah, there's another $500,000. So clearly, she's got some motivation to protect the big business that has helped her to achieve the position that she has. So you can take that kind of exchange with a grain of salt, in my opinion, because the whole point is, hey, I need to protect my friends in industry, the people that have helped me to retain my position as a senator from Massachusetts, and it's not about any of the things that she brought up. It's all about trying to protect those businesses.
I really want a law to pass that when they broadcast these, that when a senator's on screen, their top 3 donors' logos have to be on the
good
screen
call.
with them. How crazy would that be? She comes up and it's like Pfizer, Moderna. Like that would change the game.
Gotta be
where they take money from.
It's got to be suits like NASCAR.
I literally posted a picture of her, on my ex of her in a NASCAR suit. It says Pfizer on it.
Yeah.
Because that would change who they take money from if they had to be blasted with it every time they do a confirmation hearing.
Even what Nancy Mace did here, I got my qualms with her, but just having that whole open secrets. God bless Open Secrets.
Oh,
'cause
yeah.
They do good work.
We don't have any qualms with Nancy Mace. She came here.
I mean, we don't.
What?
I'm not we as well.
Destiny has been here.
Yeah.
Well, Destiny doesn't come back. Destiny
I
doesn't
think
come
there are
back.
qualms.
I mean, I
to be at.
got no beef, Nancy. I'm sorry. I'm just saying some things we don't agree on. People don't agree with everything on everyone.
Nancy will be okay.
Yeah, it's just fine. But that would be even this having open secrets up next to him when they're doing it. It's a good idea.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
So, all right. So we're going to move on. Let's jump to this story. Trump signs order to combat anti-Semitism on campuses, vows action against Hamas sympathizers. Look, that's not all that, in line with the First Amendment. And I know that there are people that are going to say, well, if they're not actually American citizens, they don't get First Amendment protections. If I understand correctly, they do.
Look at Mary.
Right? But so The Hill says President Trump signed an executive order Wednesday seeking to fight anti-Semitism on college campuses and vowing action against Hamas sympathizers among student populations. Anti-Semitism has spiked on campuses after Hamas' October 7th, 2023 attack on Israel, and pro-Palestinian protest roiled campuses last spring with more than 2,000 arrests at universities across the country. Trump is seeking to direct federal resources towards combating anti-Semitism on campuses and calling for all federal executive agencies to report criminal and civil actions that can be used to fight anti-Semitism to the White House within 60 days. Look, if you want to talk about terrorism, right, or terrorists sympathizing with terrorism, that's one thing. But just being like, look, you've got a bad opinion about the Jews, that's not okay. Like, you can't do that in the United States, whether it be on college campuses or anywhere else.
Did you say if they break the law? Isn't also the EO is if they break the law and then they have a right to go after
It's
them?
not free speech. It's not a free speech issue if it's a law. If I go out and I smash a window and vandalize, out of the country.
But you're on a visa. You're
Yeah.
pro Hamas on a visa. You break a window, send them out.
Not pro Hamas. You crack a window in a protest as a person on a visa, you're out.
Yeah, if you
Okay.
break
You know what I mean? Like
I
forget
can dig
the
it.
topic, right? If
Yeah,
you're not
yeah.
causing problems, see you later.
if you break the law and you're on a visa, out.
Go to Canada and break the laws an American.
Okay.
You ain't gonna be there very long.
No.
Well, just FYI, none of the right wingers are the big accounts are saying that I've seen that it is if you break a law. They're just and lefties too. They're like, if you're this person, you say these things, you get out of here. But it is Trump's not dumb.
Yeah, it's
If
wild.
you break a law, you have to then you're on the table to get out.
You burn a car in the middle of a street.
Oh yeah,
Bye.
peace.
So yeah, I mean, so then it makes me wonder, why this framing? Because if it is about breaking the law, like actually committing like acts of vandalism, it doesn't have anything to do with actual anti-Semitism. Then,
If you're part of a riot, a illegally, a gathering that's determined illegal, and you stay and you fight police, you're out. It doesn't matter what you're protesting.
I'm trying to find it, but yeah, that's the only thing. That's what I've seen the most of. It's the breaking the law part. A lot of folks are getting that wrong. Because the story is, it sounds better. Hey, you're pro Hamas and you're protesting. So they're going, Trump's going to kill college students. He's not. Don't break the law, kids.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean that's kind of my understanding. If this were just, hey, look, if you say something negative about Israel, or if you just have a bad opinion about the Jews or whatever, then it's like, okay, you can't legislate that.
Well, it also gives unfair protection to one group. It's like, what if they say negative things about me as a person? They slander me. You know what I mean? It's like it's got to be equally applied across anything. So that's why I think the thing he walked away from was just saying, hey, people who are rioting as non-citizens are going to be kicked out of the country.
Yeah, and I honestly, look, I think that the more non-citizens that we can actually get out of the country at this point, it's a good thing. Like whether they be here, on a visa or whatever. Like, look, if you're not a citizen and you are in any way causing a problem, beat it.
Yeah, why are we bringing people that don't love America into America? What's the point?
Yeah, I mean the
So take out the no, I can't say that.
Well, immigration.
Americans who don't like America. No, I'm just kidding.
Immigration is supposed to enrich our country. That's the point of it. It's not a charity program. It's supposed to make us better as a nation.
Well, even if they love America, they can love it from afar. Distance makes the heart grow fonder.
Yeah, it does. So I just don't see the problem with being like, hey, if you break the law, even if it's as simple as something, as small as vandalism. But again, I do wonder why, because I've seen the combat anti-Semitism headline all over the place, and it's like, why misrepresent what it is, right? If it's people breaking the law, why are you saying that it's about anti-Semitism when it's not? I mean, I don't see how that hurts Trump. Because, like for the most part, your average normie is like, yeah, that should be bad. They don't put a lot of thought into it. And so it's not like it's going to hurt Trump. If it's the left that reads it, they might, especially if you're bringing up Hamas or Gaza, then they might be like, well, yeah, that's bad because Trump bad. But they're already going to think that Trump's bad. I don't see what the benefit is for misrepresenting it, making it about anti-Semitism when it's about, hey, look, these people are breaking the law.
Yeah, maybe simply they just didn't think about it hard enough. They just posted it and was like, let's go.
Well, I mean, if it weren't for the fact that there was probably 6 or 7 or 8 different headlines like that.
But they all copy each other, So.
They do. So let's see. The president also said that the Department of Justice will quell pro-Hamas vandalism and intimidation and investigate and punish anti-Jewish racism in leftist, anti-American colleges and universities. So, again, if I don't want the DOJ punishing anti-Jewish racism, I don't want the DOJ punishing any racism, right? Like,
Agreed.
That's something that we try to take a social aspect. You ostracize people. You say, oh, I don't want to hang out with you. You criticize people, but you don't have the DOJ go after people because they have bad opinions about, or opinions about some people they don't like. Like, look, man, whether or not people want to admit it, like, you're free to have unpopular opinions.
Right.
You're free to not like this group of people or that group of people. I know that it's been pounded into people's heads that, like, racism is actually not just illegal, but it's a sin. Mm-hmm. It's somehow, it's a sin against society or whatever. In the United States, you can be an asshole if you want. right? Like
illegal.
it's
That's what
not
makes us
illegal.
beautiful.
And so like this whole idea that that you would use the Justice Department against people because they have unpopular opinions is really bad. And we see why it was really bad because of all the things that had happened during COVID. All the people that were like, no, I don't like the lockdowns. I don't like, I don't think this. And I disagree about the origins or whatever. All those people that had bad opinions, a lot of them turned out to be right.
Yeah. And
so
I always try to remind people too, like, don't get all comfy with big government during Trump's term. Because anything that he passes and uses, if it changes in 4 years, I don't want this stuff coming against me. Yeah. So do not, I see it all the time. They're like, oh, well, Trump's in power. I'm okay with this. I'm like, you shouldn't be.
What other examples do you see?
Well, I think this is a great example of it.
Are there any other overreaches?
No, I haven't seen anything yet, but I'm saying just don't just carte blanche everything Trump says, rubber stamp it. Like, think about if the power changes in 4 years, do you still want them having that power? Right now I've been very on board with everything happening, but something like this that could have read, will quell vandalism and intimidation on college campuses. End of story. Like, I think we need to do that. I don't think our kids should. It's already illegal, though. That's a good point.
But they're just another grandstanding because for
100%.
some reason,
Why are campuses the focal point here?
Yeah,
Well,
that's a good question.
mostly I think it's because
Protesters?
because the faculty at most college campuses are almost uniformly left. They're all very pro-Gaza, so they look the other way when Jewish kids were they were hazing Jewish kids and stuff like that, and your faculty would look the other way when there were pro-Gaza protests, and basically, saying stuff that's considered hate speech towards Jews. So that's why they're focused on campuses, is because it's kind of a uniform opinion when it comes to the administrators, and they're not doing anything to protect the Jewish kids, because there was a lot of Jewish kids that ended up like barricaded in rooms and stuff like that because there were protesters that were like hounding them and stuff like that. So that's probably why they're focusing on
That's why I agree with that aspect, Phil, as in they're being barricaded in rooms and being they weren't allowed to walk through campus, they weren't allowed to walk through certain areas. I agree with that. Let them, you're able to move around, but just being bullied and yelled at, I don't agree with. That's fine. Let them be. Sorry, you get yelled at, you get bullied. It's
it's life. Yeah.
So this is cool and all.
Well, I mean,
but not really.
I was just
don't
saying.
like it one bit.
I was just answering Mary's question as to why.
Okay.
That was the justification, not
Gotcha.
whether or not
Just
that's
assume
not.
it's because a lot of them receive federal funding, so it just falls under their
Sure. Yeah.
sphere of influence.
Yeah.
I think there's still the angle that this is non-citizens, right? This is
back to the
Yeah, I mean, I think the whole
Kick 'em
point-
out.
Yeah, you're here, you're causing problems, you hate what we stand for. Like, if you hate it so much, just leave.
Look, and that goes
Want
back.
to use us.
Well, right.
That's why they don't
Yeah.
leave.
Yeah, that's something that I think that that's something that we've talked about here on the show multiple times. If you are not a fan of the United States, if you're an anti-capitalist, you shouldn't be allowed in the U.S.
Agreed.
If you're a communist, you shouldn't be allowed in the U.S. You certainly shouldn't be given money to go to school here. If you and the reason I say communist is because a communist at a fundamental disagreement with communism and with a liberal society, right? If you don't believe that you should be able to own property, if you don't believe that your body is your property, your life is your own property, which is communists don't believe, then you shouldn't be allowed to come.
We're not compatible.
What about those of us who may oppose both a liberal society and a communist society? Where do we belong?
If you're already an American, you're already an American. But again,
And,
I'm only talking about immigration.
A lot of these dumb American kids who identify as communists, they don't know what it even means.
I can't. Fair enough. But there are people that what I'm talking about is if you're from outside of the United States,
yeah, sure.
coming into the United States has the right to say you're not coming in for whatever reason. And it comes down to if you have an ideology that is hostile to a liberal society, you shouldn't be allowed to come in. Can't do anything about people that are here that you can't say you can't have that opinion to people that are Americans, right? If you're an actual American citizen, you're born here, we can't say, oh, you're a communist, we're going to kick you out. You can't do that.
Okay, I thought that's what you meant for
No. I'm talking about
Okay, anti-communist revolution.
yeah, counter-revolutionary. But
Counter-revolutionary.
the point that I'm making is when it comes to immigration, people that we accept into the United States, if you don't believe in the principles that make America America, you're not welcome in the U.S. as a whatever, you know.
Doesn't really matter what the reason is. I mean, we might just not like the cut of their jib.
I don't hate that either.
It's at the White House 2 days ago. The Cubans were celebrating Trump because they wanted him to end communism in Cuba. So we have immigrants who support our ideas and want us to help end communism in their country. I thought that was interesting.
So real quick, I know you're gonna switch, but a good executive order. It's for kicking out people who are not Americans who don't like breaking our laws. But you don't got to grandstand with the whole Israel thing, dude. Relax.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay. But speaking of crazy ideologies, we're going to jump to this story. Trump signs executive order to defund schools teaching CRT, radical gender ideology. Look, man, I've said it the past couple days. I don't even believe in gender, right? It's sex, and that's it. Like,
that hit me hard yesterday. I never thought about it, but I know it came around 1955 with the John Money dude.
Yeah.
And it didn't hit my brain, but that makes so much sense.
There's
Get
no
rid of it.
There is no such thing as gender. There's no reason to have gender. It's just you're male or you're female. It's your sex.
Yeah.
It's a function of language.
Well, but
Gender.
that's
language can be gendered.
Well, I mean,
People don't have
So it is a social construct.
an
but
essential.
They win.
It's a social construct, though.
that
No,
people don't
it's
have
not.
essential gender identities, but I think that they would weasel around the meaning of that word by saying, oh, it's just the way you've been socialized based on your body parts. That's what they would say it is.
Yeah, and I can just say that's BS.
Well, it's true though, but you are socialized a different way based on your body parts.
You're
based on your
sex, not on your
Yes.
gender.
Yeah, they would say that structure of socialization, you could just call it gender.
Yeah,
that's what they would say.
That's fine.
Just
but
to play devil's advocate, that does make sense to me.
But the point that I'm making is I reject that entirely. Like, it's all based on sex. So the idea that, oh, well...
Yeah, I don't think they would necessarily deny that.
What?
Who's they, though?
I don't think that people who believe in gender as a concept would probably say it's the way you're socialized based on your sex.
Yeah, they can define people that are interested in having that dialogue. They can define it however they want. But I reject the whole concept totally. Right? Like, for me, it's
what concept?
the concept of gender. It's biological sex. How you dress and the things that you like are what goes into making your gender, right? It's about the things that are good for a female and things that are good for a male, or the things that society says is good for a female and good for a male. Those are the things that go into making your gender. When you look at trans women, men that dress up like women, like, it's always a caricature of a woman. Very, very rarely are they a normal.
Oh, no.
They behave as a normal woman. You know what I mean?
Dressed like little anime girls.
Exactly. It's always
They got the cat ears and all that.
flouncing
Yeah.
around.
It's always
disgusting.
some kind of exaggerated character, and the same way for trans men. Like, you saw the way that woman sat down to talk to Ben Shapiro.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's a character.
Yeah,
it's
oh
not
my
natural.
goodness.
It's not. It's all. It's a.
See, but that when I
it's
see
LARPing.
something like that, I just feel sad. And when I see a guy doing the whole like caricature of a woman thing, I'm grossed out. You know what I mean? Like, you feel that way too?
I do, and
I
but
do.
the-
You
I
just
will
feel
concur.
sad when you see a woman doing that, but when you see a man doing it, you're like, ew.
You're like,
Yes.
you're like a man. You know what are
Yeah.
you doing, dude?
But that goes to my point. Like, it's not about your sex spirit or your gender. It's actually about the physical things that make you who you are.
Well, but I also just don't relate to the way you're expressing that because I'm religious. I do believe that human beings have souls, and I do believe that you are created male and female spiritually as well as physically. So
okay, so
there is
you
a
think-
spiritual reality to being a
So you
woman
think there is
and
a
man.
gender gendered to
I
a
don't know
spirit?
if gender is the right word for it. I'm just saying you have a soul, and it is primordially male or female.
And you're saying maybe just expression in general, maybe not a gender thing, just like how you express yourself.
You're socialized a certain way based
Yeah.
on whether you're biologically male or female, and maybe you could make an argument that you could call that process of socialization gender. But that would be disingenuous anyway.
Because it's a process of socialization. It's a process. It's not about what you are innately.
Of course.
So Anyways, we'll go back to the article. The Hill says President Trump has signed an executive order to prohibit federal funds from going to K-12 public schools that teach critical race theory or gender issues. The order, which could quickly face legal challenges, prohibits federal funding of the indoctrination of children, which include radical gender ideology and critical race theory in classrooms. All this stuff is just Marxism dressed up as some kind of other way. It's Marxist power dynamics, and it should all be ripped right out of schools. The Education Secretary and Defense Secretary for schools run by the Defense Department are ordered to create a strategy for ending indoctrination in K through 12 education within 90 days. The order also reinstates the 1776 commission Trump created in his first term, telling all executive agencies to prioritize the advancement of patriotic education. That is actually the in my opinion, the most important thing about this piece here. That's actually they buried the lead there. The idea that a society would educate its children to hate the society only guarantees that the society will destroy itself.
100%. Yeah, that blows my mind that we're replaced patriotic, like learning about American greatness, and replaced it with CRT.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just tell all of our kids they're victims and there's nothing they can do about it. What greatness rises from that? None.
I think that the most important thing, this could be one of the most important things that Donald Trump does in his whole presidency.
Yep.
Yeah, dude, I think you're looking at it wrong too. Like, what greatness rises from that? Nothing.
Yeah,
that's the point.
Yeah,
like, brother, like they don't want anything to happen in this country. They want everything to fail.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and that's like the thing that I think a lot of the right doesn't get. They like, you understand the arguments of the left, you get what they're doing, but you have to understand the mindset. The whole mentality is different than like your idea of patriotism and wanting to like make something of yourself, even yourself. That's already it's anthological.
Oh yeah,
it's a complete. It's an anathema to them. They don't see the world like that. They don't, and it's hard for you to do it. But when you adopt, then you can sort of understand where they're coming from, what they're swinging with. You know what I mean? But I don't know.
It's hard to understand something that you just can't fundamentally process mentally.
Exactly.
You know.
Exactly.
I can't understand like the idea of self. Like if I was in North Korea and I say self, I'm in a work camp. You know, they don't have a word for that. You know, and I can't get my head around that. Yeah, they don't really refer to themselves as themselves. It's us. It's we. It's our. And so they don't like in the language, but it's just a different programming. So when you have individualism and self-worth, it's hard to think that way. So it is very difficult to understand.
It's funny, though, when you see people that always talk about the we and the us and the community and stuff like that, and then something happens to them like in Los Angeles, and then they're like, oh, wow, woe is me. What was my things? How am I feeling? It's very funny how that immediately comes out when you, like you said, they're talking about community and like for myself as opposed to thinking about, oh, just myself. It's funny, though, that like the people that claim that they're often about their communities and stuff like that are often not. They're doing it because it's self-serving, because we've kind of gotten rid of the ability to actually have any social advancement. There's no way to like gain social bucks in the world anymore unless you get in with this ideology and say, oh, I'm going to put all my eggs in this basket, and suddenly, like, you know, now it's all kind of coming to an end. It's all crumbling, and people have no idea what to do with it. But
the bit goes on to say, which is actually very frustrating to read, but it says CRT, which is typically taught at the college and postgraduate level, has been around for decades and holds that race is a social construct embedded in American institutions. This idea that it's only taught in colleges, that was something that you first heard when CRT kind of became part of the national lexicon, right? So they said that they were talking about critical race theory, and the response from people in the media and stuff was, oh, that's only taught in colleges, right? Because they don't, when CRT is taught in grade school or high schools, you're not teaching this, you're not teaching about CRT. You're using CRT as a lens to see the world through. So you're not teaching kids about CRT. What you're doing is you're teaching kids to see the world through a power dynamic, through a racial power dynamic. So it teaches kids to see that minorities have been oppressed, and they've always been oppressed in America, and that they can't get out of the oppressed situation, and that white people and men, they're the oppressor, and they've always been the oppressor. And so when you teach kids that, You're not teaching them about CRT. You're teaching them to see the world through a critical lens, because CRT isn't just a subject, it's a way to interact with the world. Just like you were saying, if you don't have an idea of me, then you don't have the ability to think of yourself first, right? And and that right there is a worldview. It's a way to experience the world. And CRT, when it comes to grade school and high school, it's a way to teach kids. It's not about teaching them specifically the theories behind CRT. Right. It's teaching them, look, these people are oppressed, these people are not oppressed, and that's why, whether it be critical race theory or whether it be critical gender studies, that's the same kind of oppression matrix.
Yeah.
It's just using different people as the oppressed, and that falls under like the whole intersectionality thing, whether it be intersectional feminism,
yeah, dude,
where women are the oppressed and men are the oppressors, or whether you're talking about critical race theory, where people of color are the oppressed and white people are the oppressor, or you're talking about critical gender studies, which means that the queer and the LGBT people are the oppressed and straight and heteronormative people are the oppressor, but it's all a Marxist power dynamic.
Exactly.
And it moved on from
Just critical theory, Hegelian critical theory.
Exactly. Hegelian critical theory, exactly. And
you see it once, you see it in everything.
And once
critical race theory, you see CT in everything. It's gender theory. It's always theory. It's teaching you how to think in a particular way. It's indoctrination. When I say it's not indoctrination, it's like, okay, well then why are you telling people why are you teaching people a way to think? That's literally what it means.
And so when the Hill says things like CRT, which is typically taught at collegiate and postgraduate level, that's literally running cover for these ideologies.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like, they're trying to misrepresent what's going on.
How do we know how common this really is in public schools, at the elementary school, middle school, or high school level? How do we know?
Anytime you see...
Because it must depend on the specific district and the individual school.
It definitely varies.
How do we know?
Well, anytime you would see a Black Lives Matter flag, or you would see the Pride Progress flag, that's a real good
public school.
Oh yeah, you'd see that stuff. They were flying them outside of the. They were flying them outside of outside of embassies all over the world. The U.S. had Black Lives Matter, and
I just wonder, like, how. I don't know. Like, I don't know how common this is, because I never went
common enough where the FBI would say, "Look, we're going to go ahead and look into Americans." I never went to public school,
so I just don't. I don't know if this is like localized in certain intensely liberal areas.
We've talked on the show before about folks in the rural area who's had to live in rural areas.
Yeah.
Because in the rural areas, because it's getting there from the ladies, or sorry, liberal women, they go to college, they do their teacher thing, and they bring their thought and process their critical theory over to any school they can, and if they live in the rural area, they bring it to the rural area homeland, so they're teaching in their own rural oral homeland. And even if it's like 20%, 10%, whatever, get it the F out of here.
Why is it always the librarians? That's what I want to know.
Dude,
I feel like it's always a librarian.
And teachers too, but it's
there was a rural school, and the first inkling of it where we lived in Oklahoma was like a librarian.
Oh yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah. It was just like, because you said went off to school, came back, and was like, well, I'm changing how the books are, and these are the books that are allowed and not allowed.
That part of that problem is that these things aren't just taught in schools. They first were taught in schools of education. So when you had teachers going to school to learn to be teachers, they were told, this is how you should teach. This all comes back to this guy named Paulo Freire, and he has a book called The Pedagogy of the Oppressed, and that was put into it was written in like the early 80s, and it made it, or maybe the 70s, but it went through the schools of education like wildfire in the 80s and 90s. Okay. And now all of the teachers learn a Marxist way of teaching. And so your situation isn't that they're teaching, again, this is why this is so dishonest. It's not that they're teaching CRT. It's that all the teachers, when they're taught how to teach, they're taught these are the methods, and all of the methods are critical race theory. They're all critical. They're all to have a critical lens, and a critical lens means to be critical of the status quo, and to look for the oppressed people, and those people must be centered. The marginalized people must be centered, and the people at the center must be made to go to the margins.
So if it's that systemic, what does this do?
Well,
Wait,
if you
know what I mean? Like, what does it do?
Again, the most important thing in this, in my opinion, is the Project 1776 or the 1776 Commission, which says you cannot teach a curriculum that characterizes the United States of America as an evil.
Only
as
if they're
a problem.
funded by the federal government, or if they get federal government, because Trump can't like make everyone do everything. Right?
Fair enough.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like with this, I don't want to look at this as a solve.
No, not at all. Not at all.
There's still a lot of work to do.
There are people that are teaching this outside the curriculum too, which we're going to address to Mary as well. Like people are definitely just teaching this to their kids as if this is truth, because this is like you have to again. It's all about framing how you think about it. This is a religion to them. This is the most important thing that is driving every single aspect of their daily life. It's like we have to push this because they literally think that there are Nazis everywhere else around them that they're saying this. And now, unfortunately, because of the Groypers and stuff, there are people that literally say this stuff and have these iconographs or whatever. So, yeah, like Phil's exactly saying. It's like it's so deep. We already think about the world in a leftist framework altogether already. So, like, I don't know. I don't know. That's
on
a
the
great
bright
question.
side, though, I don't think the kids are buying it.
No.
They're-
Amen. You're right.
Definitely not.
They're pushing. They're definitely pushing back. There's a group of them that are pushing back, and it tends to be like young white guys, because young white guys are the ones that they're told, "Hey, look, you're the problem. You're the whole problem." Blah blah blah. And there's a certain, and we were talking about
And
this
their
last night.
friends, too.
We talked last night. There's like. This dude was talking. I read a tweet where a guy was talking about. He's like, I saw this kid that I knew, and he was upset because he kept being told that he was he was the worst, he was the root of all evil, he's a racist, blah blah blah, and now he's a girl. And so what happens is, and he transitioned, which is part of the reason why kids are transitioning. Because if you've got kids and you tell them you're the problem, you're white, you're the problem, you're a male, you're the
Why would you wanna
problem,
be that?
you're always the bad person, blah blah blah. You have two options. You can either say F you and go and become far right and say we're going to win at whatever cost, we're going to take over because all this stuff has to be burnt to the ground because it's all corrupt. Or if you're not that guy, then you say, well, I could always go ahead and call myself a girl and get all the kudos and everyone.
Right.
It's literally because the LGBT lobby or the LGBT identity is something that anyone can take up the mantle of.
Right.
If you're a normal straight white kid, right, normal straight white dude, you can say, okay, I can either be considered the bad guy all the time around all of my friend groups. I can always be called all the names, or I can say that I'm poly, or I'm bi, or I can say that I'm a trans woman, trans girl, and I can get all kinds of attention and I can get all kinds of kudos and blah blah blah. So it's literally they're given the option. You can either assimilate, and the LGBT mantle will allow you to absolve yourself of the sin, because again, it's like a religion. It will either absolve you of the sin, or you can embrace your inner dark side, and you can go ahead and say, well, F you, me and my friends are going to hang out and we're going to say whatever we want, and we can be as crass and rude and say all the terrible things, and it's fine around us. And if we ever get the chance to take over, we're going to take over and we're going to burn it down.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing. My kids are 10, 16, and 18.
Nice.
So I've got kids in that range. Now they're homeschooled, so they haven't been indoctrinated. Well, so
Hopefully by you.
yeah, exactly. I'm not doing CRT at the house. So, but like I see I see their friend group, and it is very contrarian. They're just like, this is all stupid. They just swing so far the other way because it's not punk rock anymore. It's like,
Nice, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's
it's
the
not
lame thing to do.
Well, what do they respect? If they don't respect that, what do they respect?
Individualism, building businesses, investing, being successful. Contributing to society as a functional member.
But like, I feel like they're questioning the idea of contributing to society now. Like young people in that age range are questioning the whole idea of needing to contribute to the society that reviles them.
Oh,
They're becoming more nihilistic.
I can see where you're coming with that. For me, at least with my kids, like very business minded, but and so it's different for everyone. But I could see where the outcome of that's like, F it, Atlas shrugged. I'm out. I'm going to live in the woods.
Well, I mean, look, man, this is something that, like, whether you like his stuff or not, Jordan Peterson was predicting this 10 years
Yes.
ago.
Yeah.
He's like, look, you can't have young men not actually have a future in the society. You
They're
can't
creating
do that.
their own worst enemies.
And watch
That's,
out.
look,
that's
man,
the white pill in all of this.
When in 2015, when punch a Nazi was all the rage, all the people on the left and all the commies were like, it's okay to punch a Nazi, and Ben Shapiro's a Nazi, right? Blah 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 blah. I was getting endless amounts of shit from people in the music industry because I was like, no, that's wrong. You can't do that. You're gonna make more Nazis.
Yeah.
I swear to God, I was screaming at the top of my lungs. Nobody wanted to listen, right? Because I was the guy that was like, no, free speech is important, right? Nobody wanted to listen because I had a foul mouth, and I was like, no, it's important to be able to do this stuff. Yeah, I see it.
Just watch, if you want to get into it real quick, just one quick statement. If you want to learn more about what's going on with the young men, white, Hispanic, just young men in general, what if alt-hist? He's in many great videos of the backlash that's going to happen.
He's
So-
kind of going through something right now.
What?
That guy, he's kind of.
Rudyard.
What if all his? He's kind of going through something.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's kind of
going
struggling right now.
Oh,
I don't know. He's getting
Prayers up.
he's getting a lot of
prayers up then.
a lot of help.
okay.
So,
Good for,
but yeah, like I mean, look, these kind of problems are actually obvious when you look at the whole of the situation.
Yes.
And you can't treat a whole generation of young people like they're the bad guy. Like they're
pendulum swing,
inherently
bro. It's gonna
evil.
knock the wall down. It's going to knock it down.
So, all right, we're going to jump to this story here. Trump will send 30,000 illegal immigrants to Guantanamo Bay. It's a tough place to get out of. I mean, I guess that's true, right? It's an island. Cuba's an island, at least. And I don't think that if you break out of Guantanamo Bay prison, I suppose
The sharks everywhere.
I don't imagine that the Cubans are going to go ahead and welcome you.
That's the question. What's worse, Guantanamo Bay or being in Cuba? I mean, I don't think they're going to welcome that.
I don't know. From the New York Post, President Trump said Wednesday that he plans to send up to 30,000 illegal immigrants to detention facilities at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, as part of his campaign to mass deport migrants who have committed crimes. Trump inked a memorandum requiring the Pentagon and Department of Homeland Security to prepare for migrants there after previewing the plan while signing the Anti-Illegal Immigration Laken-Riley Act. Today, I'm also signing an executive order to instruct the Department of Defense and Homeland Security to begin preparing the 30,000-person migrant facility at Guantanamo Bay, Trump said. Most people don't even know that we have 30,000 beds in Guantanamo Bay to detain the worst criminal illegal aliens threatening the American people. I mean, look, the idea that, initially, or 15 years ago, 20 years ago, not quite 20 years ago, but 15 years ago, Barack Obama was saying that he was going to close down Guantanamo, and he never did. And if it's still there and they've got 30,000 beds and we've got enough actual violent criminals, why not send them there?
Well, I think the thing I was always critical of we got catch and release in America, right? Now we're just catch and release it across the border. They just come back. And so you got these people, vile criminals and rapists that are just going to come back. Some of these people need to be in prison in our control for the rest of our lives.
That's like what Trump's saying here. He's at the bottom.
At the bottom, he does say it.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
said we're going to send them out. They're going to give them back. But why do we want taxpayer funded going to these people?
Well, there's the other option.
I'm just we're going to spend more money on them. We don't need to spend more money. We just kick them out to where they came from. If they come back, kick them back out. I mean, I don't know how much it costs more, but I've Marines. I got there when I first got into the Fleet Marine Force. A lot of half of my company were from Guantanamo Bay, so there are a lot of guys. We talked a lot about it. There's huge landmines, huge landmine field between the base and Cuba. I don't think they got rid of it because I don't know if you can go through it and get rid of all landmines. So there's protection there. So if Trump's looking for folks to, help assist, there are a lot of devil dogs back in the day who know that area and ground very well. But either ways,
I think it's a good tool.
yeah, I
It's a
guess we
good
can
tool,
have it.
Right? Yeah, we don't have to fill it up with 30,000
No.
people, but you got some really bad guys that are just going to cause problems on the other side. Lock them up.
I mean, I'd rather spend $10 million on Guantanamo Bay than giving it to wars overseas.
Or have another Lake and Riley.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I agree with you.
The Trump added that some of them are so bad we don't even trust the countries to hold them because we don't want them coming back. That I think is an actual tangible problem. If they won't receive them in the first place, right? Like they're threatening to turn away flights for whatever excuse they can come up with, whether it be, the planes are inhumane or whatever, whatever garbage they can come up with. There's no reason to believe that they're going to actually just say, okay, we're going to try to make sure that these people don't get back to the U.S. Especially if they're already criminals and they've dumped them from out of their jails and prisons, like Trump says, if that's actually what's happened, I don't know that they're going to want to hold on to them anymore.
They want them gone as fast as possible.
Yeah. So what
should we do?
What is the incentive to actually let them or have them stay in the country? I imagine they would just be like, hey, we can get them back into the U.S. somehow, get them out of here.
Yeah. And also, like, you need some kind of deterrent. If I'm a guy that got kicked out and I'm told if I come back, I'm going to Guantanamo Bay.
No doubt.
Maybe I just stay in Cuba. Maybe I just stay in wherever, right?
Sure.
But with no deterrent, you're just going to come back.
You could be free in a country that you don't want to be in, or you could be locked in a box.
What's the penalty?
Pick, brother.
Yeah. What's the penalty for getting caught twice?
Well, no, I think the point is, like, the reason that they would go to Guantanamo is because there is no guarantee that they're going to be locked up in their home country.
Exactly.
No, that's what we're saying.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I mean. You could be not locked up in your home country. You could be free in your home country or whatever country you live in, or you could be locked in a box.
Yeah, I haul
You could be
Free in a country you don't want to live in.
Yeah, or be locked in a box in
Or be
Guantanamo
locked in
Bay.
Guantanamo Bay.
But what I'm saying is, I think that
They don't want them?
The reason that they're going to Guantanamo Bay is because they're not going to go to jail in their own country.
Yeah, but they could be free in their own country. Whatever.
If the point is they're criminals. The reason that they got sent out of their own country is they're criminals. So they were in jail and they get sent out. The country that they came from isn't going to want them roaming around free because they're ostensibly violent criminals.
Right.
So they don't want them
Our
free.
country is
Sure, they don't
basically
want 'em.
becoming a landfill for human garbage.
Yes.
Yeah.
we know they don't want them. We could give them a parachute, let them land, live life, or you can get a box, bro. What do you want? That's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah, I
that aspect.
I feel like my
different-
point. I
saying
feel like
the
you're
same
missing my point, which is they're gonna go to jail in their home country. That's the
cool,
option,
too.
which is again obviously is fine for me.
Yeah.
But if they're not going to, if they're going to go in their home, if they're going to go to their home country, and their home country is going to facilitate them trying to get into the United States again, why not put them?
If the
because
home country helps them, then we need
That's
to
the point, though. The whole
force
point
sanctions
is
on them
like
or something.
the whole reason you would send them to Guantanamo and we would fund it is because if we send them to their home country, they're not going to lock them up and they're not going to keep them in their home country. They're going to facilitate them coming back to the United States.
You think
that's the point?
You think the country would actually help them get back to United States?
They helped them get to the United States in the
I'm
first
sorry.
place.
I'm sorry. Besides letting them free and giving them some money, you think they're actually like, we'll get them through the border nowadays with Trump in the border?
There have been multiple countries that have emptied out their prisons, and they don't just let them like open the prison and say go do what you want. They facilitate getting them to the United States because at this point the U.S. doesn't have the open border that it used to.
Yeah.
But the process was get them out of our country. They're criminals. Open up the prison, get them out of our country, and send them to the send them, not allow them, send them to the United States. And so the reason Trump would say, hey, Guantanamo Bay is because they have been sent here. That's why he said they're not sending their best. They're sending rapists. They're sending murderers. And some of them, I guess, are nice people. But he articulated they are sending because that's what they're doing. They're helping them. They're facilitating them to come to the United States. They're offloading their prisoners into the U.S. The reason for Guantanamo Bay is because they're sending them.
I was conflating sending with allowing.
No, not allowing.
I hear
Actually
ya.
helping
Will there be
facilitate.
follow through on this statement?
If they
what
go
I
to
wanna-
Guantanamo or if they what?
On
Follow through
Trump's
what?
statement, will there be follow through on sending them
Jobs
to
too as
Guantanamo
well.
Bay?
Jobs for Americans.
Oh yeah, he'll send them. I think so. I like to see him drop it a level. I would like anybody who gets deported to be faced with going to Guantanamo if they come back, right? As a deterrent to not come back to America. Okay, you're out, you're good, we're even. But if you come back, you're going over there.
I have no problem with that.
Because otherwise there's no deterrent. They're just going to come back.
Dude, concrete walls. I don't know if you guys ever been at concrete wall, a little 8x12 box. They're the worst things. It's not very fun. So if once they even give them like a taste, give them like a year. Like,
Yeah.
bro, you get a year.
Not forever.
You know, I know.
There's
And
90
then
days.
we'll let you,
Yeah.
if they take it back, take it back. But once you like, nobody likes that.
You're gonna
It's a
figure out.
terrible
You're
life,
gonna make
bro.
Mexico work at
It's
that.
terrible. Yeah, it's terrible, terrible life. Mary, have you ever been in?
To prison?
Yeah.
Me?
I'm just
Of course.
asking. I'm just throwing it out there.
She
Little
shan-
old me.
She
We don't know
shanked,
about
like
you.
7 or 8 people, just stab, stab, stab.
The human garbage that are coming here, like she says.
I told you not to mention that on air, Phil. No.
Hoorah. Just throwing it out there.
No, I don't think Mary's actually stabbed someone. She's a very polite.
Thought about it. Who hasn't?
I am extremely aware that you've thought about it. We've
hasn't?
we've spoken off
Who among
air.
us?
She'll be like looking at some of the stuff that we're talking about on PCC, and you can just see.
Yeah,
She just shakes her head, and I can see the terrible things that she's thinking. She doesn't actually articulate them. She would never say it, but I can. She just goes. It's like there's like.
I'm actually a really nice person. People don't know that.
She is really nice. She's great.
BTW.
Are you? Do you want to talk about that?
Just quickly before we go to super chats, I guess
Yeah.
a plane reportedly crashed at DCA. I thought it was something to mention.
like
search and
right
rescue. If that would mean that it went to the Potomac, then if they're doing search and rescue.
I don't know.
What's DCA? District of Columbia?
DCA is the
DCA is the
airport in Ronald Reagan.
It's Reagan Airport.
Okay, Reagan.
I was trying not to say Ronald Reagan, but yeah, Ronald Reagan's airport.
The
DC.
Why?
objectively
you know-
inferior airport of DC.
It definitely is.
Really?
Yes.
Dulles is the goat.
Yes.
You have a personal beef with RR?
With Reagan, yeah.
Yeah.
Dulles has other stuff that we can talk about too, but we're not gonna.
Actually, I do. I prefer
don't have
DCA.
2 hours.
Personally, I prefer DCA to Dulles. Actually,
Like Dulles
I like the
is so
music.
Crazy.
crazy.
Dulles
music
music
in
in and you're out. It's-
Really? Huh. I've always flown to DCA, and
I hope everyone's safe and hope everyone, at
Yeah,
least as
it's-
much as they can be.
Just wanted to
know.
mention
Crash
it.
their plane.
Hopefully, we'll find out more about it in the future. But DCA Search and Rescue's plane reportedly crashed. So if anyone wants to go looking at it themselves, feel free.
Yeah.
Thank you, Serge.
So, all right. Well, I guess it is time to go to super chats. So let's see. We'll go ahead and bring these bad boys up.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah. There we go. Shane H. Wilder says, still no Philcast IRL slate. If that spoon thief Seamus can get a slate, then why can't Phil? I call shenanigans. Look, man, I am just happy to help out when I can, right? Like, I am here, I am available, and if I can come in and help out, I don't need any kind of special treatment. I'm here to.
Yeah,
be a
we'll
team
get
player.
you one.
Hoorah.
We'll get you
you
one.
know,
I'll make it happen. Tomorrow I'll make
imagine-
it happen for you guys. We'll get
I
you
imagine
one.
I will.
That'd be nice. Well, and, with Tim away, it fills all that remains.
Jesus.
That's good.
That
I want to.
You can call it whatever you want.
Hey, that was from
Pre-show.
the chat. That was chat.
Oh, was it
guys.
chat?
Yeah, it was
Oh,
chat. Anyways,
Man of History says, turning 26 tomorrow. What do you think of ramen? Look, man, if it's
we
the
go.
like cheap ramen, I'm okay with it. But when you go to like, I don't want to go to a restaurant to get ramen. I know people that are out there that are like, oh, I'm
That's
going to
the
go
best kind.
blah, blah, blah. I can't.
Like grilled ramen.
Give me the 33-cent top ramen. I'll eat that.
Okay.
Have you ever
I
had
agree.
soy sauce eggs?
No,
I mean, that's like
Yeah.
the reason to go.
so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen them made where they like throw a bunch of like
Yeah.
oyster oil or whatever. It's sesame oil and stuff. And then you leave hard-boiled eggs in there like overnight or
They
something.
look at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, can I get ramen with 6 extra eggs? And they're
Yeah,
like,
it's dope.
what? And I'm like, yes, 6 eggs, all the eggs.
Come on.
Protein.
Yes.
I feel you.
Are you a fan?
Feel you.
Me?
Yeah.
Ramen?
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good stuff. That's just crazy. That's a really crazy take. That's probably the hottest take
Yeah,
all night.
tonight.
Saying you prefer Maruchan Nissan like ramen.
I do, yeah.
To, like, really?
Yeah.
I do too.
He's got to be
agree.
getting drug in chat right now.
Yeah. That's wild, dude.
One.
It's the chat, man. It's like this is one of the
Yeah, don't look at our chat and like,
Best chat.
don't
I will
associate the
fight for the
chat's
chat.
chat's comments with me or anyone.
Raymond's over here kissing chat's butt.
Hey,
They don't
I've been here
attack
for
him.
4 years. Rock and roll chat. Best
Hey man,
chat.
yeah, I remember seeing the chat before I even started working here. So you're
Yeah, I've been
OG.
since 2020. Let's go.
Yeah, for real.
Quantum Strange Quark says Elizabeth Warren starts off by saying that she is against Big Pharma,
know.
then proceeds to attack RFK Jr. for supporting lawsuits against Big Pharma.
It's so crazy.
You know,
It's the craziest thing, dude.
Pocahontas at it again.
just because I'm free says, with Tim out, all that remains is to give the crew a big POB for filling in. Or is that asking too? Oh man, asking too much. When he slides in a song title into it at the end
That was good, dude.
that one that's better than most of the most
shout
of
out,
them.
shout out, just because I'm free. That was supreme. That was a good one.
Hoorah.
Let's see. Cain Abel says, read that bill again, Phil. It talked about harassment and violence against people. People were harassed and violently assaulted by Hamas because they were Jewish or Christian. Look, man, I already said, if it was actually assault, if that's why they're getting sent home, fine. I'm totally fine with that. I have no problem with getting rid of people that are going to break the law. There's no reason for us to allow people here in the United States, if they're criminals and if they're going to get into fights and break the law, get them out of here. So simmer down. I'm on your
Simmer
team.
down now. Simmer down now.
Jordan Hodge says total of $15 towards asking Phil why the lyric is was instead of were and what if I was nothing, because it literally was taken from an argument that I had with my ex-wife. So it was literally exactly what I said to her. That's why I took it. So if I
walk
use,
us through it.
pardon me? No, not at all. No. But if I used improper grammar, it was because I was a little fired up at the particular time. All right. So, let's see.
Now I'm interested.
You can actually find the story on the internet. I'm
Okay.
sure you can go.
You should write a memoir.
No,
We all should at a
Who would
certain
love
point in your
that?
life. Everyone should.
people think
I mean that. People would read that.
Yeah.
Nah, book tour in like
Good
10
idea.
years, Phil. 10 years.
10 years.
Give it some time.
Give it some time, and then you'll write your.
I mean, if
tell-all.
if I were to do like a memoir about all that remains, and then I could do a memoir about my pod.
Second-
There'll be a
After your
whole
Tim- after your
chapter
Timcast
about
arc.
Mary and how evil she is.
Oh.
How I throw things.
Come
at
on,
people.
no
Wait,
way.
you're throwing things?
Me and Mary are homies.
No.
But I didn't know she throws stuff.
We
I don't
don't.
throw things at you.
That's because I'm all right, and I don't give you too much help.
Only Brett.
Have you thrown things at Brett?
Well, that's what everyone says.
I'm asking.
I'll keep my lips sealed.
Confirm or deny? No.
No comment.
All right, then fine.
Keep those are hard at him.
Tetris991 says, Phil, I counted 24 ums in your open. Also, can I get a scream from 6? No, you can't.
Not with that kind of talk, right?
And if I say it's because I'm thinking about what I want to say next. Sorry.
Giving you such a hard time.
Oh, it's actually pretty chill here. Ian Crossland for $2. You sold
$2?
all those bags. Tim helped you sell all those bags of Ian's Graphene Dream, and you go ahead and come up with a $2 super chat.
Nice.
Get him, Phil. Get him.
Nice.
Disapproval.
And we're sold
Ian.
out, though.
Disapproval. Ian says, I love that Raymond G. Stanley Jr. guy.
Well, hoorah, Ian. Excellent job in selling out, brother.
He loves you enough to spend $2.
Well, I'll see him later tonight, maybe.
Man.
Yeah, that's the best part.
Man. NYBSFP, because I don't think that says anything. Like, I can't pronounce that. RFK and Tulsi are getting the worst of it simply because Dems are a cult, and the cult's worst enemy is the member who leaves it. That's it. I think that there's a certain amount of truth to that. I do think that there are people that are going to go after Tulsi because she is opposed to the quote-unquote deep state. As, the director of national intelligence, she would be in charge of, I suppose, making, deciding what is and is not classified, or she would be helping decide that stuff. And so that's something that that would have the deep state concerned, I suppose. And as for RFK, I think that it's just that I think that you're onto something. He's a Kennedy. He's supposed to be on the Democrat side.
How dare you?
But he's been a libertarian. He's actually been a registered libertarian for like a lifetime member, I think, for 20 or something years. So even though he's not particularly libertarian, like when you talk to, anytime you talk to a libertarian about another libertarian, they're both going to say that's not a real libertarian.
Right,
It's just
right.
the way that it goes. But
weird.
he's very interested in government action for a libertarian. So
Who are you more mad at? The enemy combatant fighting against you in the battlefield, or one of your own that changed sides?
yeah,
Right? We hate traitors.
Yes.
Right? And so
Correctly.
correctly, rightfully so.
Amen.
And so for them, he's a traitor. And I get why they hate him. So
Speaking of traitors, we got one right there.
I'm not your buddy guy. Says Democrats and media need to be held legally liable for their lies. Trump press secretary's first debut highlighted why and who federal funds were being frozen for, and yet they still lied about it. I wish that there was something that could be done, but when they're on the floor of Congress, they can lie, and there is nothing that anyone can do about it. They're totally exempt from legal action from anything they say. So, I mean, I suppose if you're looking at things that they say in print or on X or whatever, they might be in a position to be held liable. But even still, libel laws, dishonesty is covered by the freedom of speech. You can say whatever you want to say. So I understand the sentiment, and I think I agree with the sentiment, but at the same time, it's not worth messing up the freedom of speech and the First Amendment stuff.
It'd be a terrible mess. Plus, you got to prove damages, and I mean, and it would just everything would become a quagmire. I think at that point, and completely dysfunctional.
I just hate the fact that they're supposed to be politicians. They're supposed to be representing people, and they're just blatantly lying when they're talking in front in this hearing. It's disgusting and immoral and terrible, and they should all be.
The way to fix it is stop voting for these people.
Yeah, but the Dems are going to keep voting for the Dems.
Yep.
I mean, if you go to X today,
Same for the right though.
You watch the people
Susan
that are,
Murkowski and all them. Sorry.
You watch the people that are Democrat operatives or whatever. They are doubling down on everything. There's names that everyone is probably familiar with if they are frequently on X, and the names that you would expect, they're all doubling down on all of the same talking points. So there's always going to be people that will spread whatever BS the team they're on wants them to.
Information warfare.
Yep.
Can we use the S word here? They're all scumbags.
Yeah, I guess so.
Nice one, dude.
Darian Gaming says, been on Ozempic for 1.5 years and lost 100 pounds. That's awesome.
Let's go.
Was able to learn what a portion size was due to decrease in appetite. Most importantly, it got rid of my obsession with food. It's a tool, not a cure. That's actually a really healthy way to kind of to understand it. As a tool, I do think that it's probably a pretty good thing, because if you're a person that's housebound and you need to start losing weight
somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And like you said, he changed his habits.
Yeah.
Right. That's the thing. And he's under a doctor's care, I bet, too. He's not taking this stuff out of a back room.
Yeah.
With nobody monitoring his muscle loss.
Yeah.
My question is just what happens when you get off of the drug? Because for most people, from what I've seen, they say they gain the weight back.
I think it's if you take it without any kind of counseling or it's not a holistic approach if you just go buy it from a friend. You start taking it, of course not. But if you're working with a doctor and you're trying to change your habits and you personally in your heart want to change, then you will change. Because if we can do it without Ozempic, we can definitely do it with Ozempic, right? If I can lose weight and keep it off without drugs, you can definitely figure it out with something like a GLP-1.
Yeah, it only takes like 3 months to make a habit, right? That's what they say.
Yeah, 21 days to 3 months. Yeah.
21, yeah.
The actual pathways in your brain, as you reinforce a habit, it actually builds a pathway in your brain. And every time you do it, it reinforces that pathway. And so the actual proteins take about 3 weeks to start breaking down. So there's a physical pathway that starts to break down in your brain. So let's see here. Polly Puree says low animal fat diets brought on obesity. Prior to those diets, obesity was uncommon. The heart requires fat and won't shut off the hunger until it gets enough.
That's so true.
Base.
Serge is down there dancing.
He is, guys. If you're watching,
That's really crank that soldier boy. That's all.
So, but yeah, it's true. I mean, well, I don't know that it's true, but it does seem likely that the amount of carbs that people eat is way higher than it needs to be. The food pyramid should have been turned upside down.
No one sits in a Ginny Craig meeting and says, "Hey, I got fat eating ribeye." It's never the story. No one. It's always.
I'm gonna have a ribeye tomorrow, I think.
No, but because it's portion control. When you eat a 14-ounce ribeye, you're full. You eat 4 donuts. Well, you're hungry in 2 hours. Right. Of course, you lose weight.
They go fast.
The food pyramid being upside down back in the day is just nuts, and how things were back in the day, and how they thought about how you should eat breads.
They didn't. That's the thing. They didn't think that. The problem is it's economic policy. It was an economic policy to help the U.S. be able to grow a lot of food.
Farmers.
Farmers, etc.
Don't trust the government.
It has nothing to do with like what is actually healthy for you. It's purely like, if you know anything about, like, if you're in econ and Eco 101, like it's an economic policy that got changed into becoming our health policy for some stupid reason. Well, corn subsidies and a lot of stuff like that. But again, not gonna touch that.
If you Google farm 2024 farm bill, 2023 farm bill. Every year the farm bill passes without any kind of hubaloo or whatever. It's something that gets passed. Almost everybody votes for it. Very rarely is there any kind of problem.
Right.
And that's been the case forever. And that's where all the subsidies are. And it's been the government has been paying farmers to grow corn because of corn subsidies forever. And these kind of things are,
remind me, dude.
yeah, these things are really, really bad. And that's why when people say, hey, look, you should only venture into the inner aisles at the grocery store very rarely, you know, and you shouldn't be buying very much. Do your shopping in the produce department, do your shopping in the meat department, do your shopping in the dairy aisle, and stay out of the inner aisles. Like, get your cleaners there, maybe get some rice there, but even still, like, you want to avoid the foods that are that have a lot of preservatives and stuff like that, or that are ultra processed and stuff.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Go buy food from your farmer's market only for 4 weeks and tell me how you feel.
Yeah.
Right? Only go to a local farmer market and just buy only what they sell and then see how you feel.
When you mentioned that, Phil, I never thought about that, but I usually don't roll down the middle aisles unless I'm getting TP or something like that. Mm-hmm. I don't do like fake mashed potatoes or spaghetti. You know, that's.
I'll go in for spices. Like, I'll go into the aisles for spices and salt and stuff like that.
Honey buns.
Sometimes it's literally the exact opposite. But listen, this is something that me and my girlfriend kind of bicker a little bit about. I think it's important to have one day where you can eat whatever you want, right? So you should eat healthy things all the time during the week, like we do Monday through Saturday. And then on Sunday, I'm like, look, if you've eaten healthy all week and you've gone to the gym and done your stuff, on Sunday you can go ahead and get buck wild. Have your sugary stuff.
Skillet.
Have your cookies. Have your
brownie.
Have your I will have Red Bulls, and because she hates that I drink Red Bull, she's constantly trying to get me to not drink Red Bull. But I'll have like a couple Red Bull on Sunday. We'll get pizza on Sunday, and then we'll have all that stuff. But you do it on Sunday because during the week, then it gives you something to look forward to. And it's so that way it's not, I can never have this again. All you have to do is say, no, not today. Sunday. We can get this Sunday. Or on the cheat day.
You know what we could call it?
It makes it easier. Go ahead.
We could call it moderation.
Yes. You know.
That's a novel idea, my friend.
Yeah.
You know. But that's what I found to work best. Like, eat clean during the week, eat good stuff during the week. And then you have one day where you can go ahead and eat whatever you want, get weird. Have your cinnamon toast crunch in the morning.
Yeah.
You know, the good sweet
What's a
stuff.
cookie skillet? I want to know what a cookie skillet is.
It is this. You get a cast iron little pan or whatever, or little cast iron skillet, and you make a cookie in there. And
Is it super great or something?
It gets brought out to your
Slap
table
some
hot.
ice cream on.
Oh,
That sounds
okay.
great.
Top.
Okay, some ice cream on top has got to be delicious.
You know, for me, I found that the cheat day, that I could do so much damage in a cheat day. I had to go to a cheat meal a week.
Oh, really?
I was able to wipe out an entire week of deficit with one cheat day. I'm like, I didn't lose any weight this week. I thought about Sunday, and I'm like, yeah, it's because I ate like everything for an entire day.
Yeah. I guess that does make sense. But the idea of having something to look forward to makes the day-to-day, deficit easier to deal with.
I love tying the idea of hitting your gym target to the reward as well.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't get 5 days. I don't get to do it this week.
Okay, that's a good idea. There you go. All right, so more super chats. The Truth A. I'm from California, and when Obama was president, we saw a resurgence of measles and polio because of illegal aliens. It was the left who were against having their kids get vaccinated against them. Look, man, like I said, I think that the polio and the measles and those vaccines, those have a long history, and I think that those are probably a good idea. I'm not a vaccine hater, so and yes, that is true. Illegal immigrants, there's no guarantee that they are vaccinated. The people from South America that are from impoverished countries, they don't have the same kind of healthcare standards that we do here. So
Cool.
Dados Prime says, I wrote a book, Awoke in a Modern Mythical Story. Available now. 2 characters based on Serge and Ian. Graphene included. Serge liked my ex post about it. Well, there you go. Congratulations. Yeah. Go check out the Awoken, a modern mythical story, available. I'm not sure where. Dados A Prime. You can check him out on YouTube. Maybe you can find it there. I don't know where to get it. Maybe just Google it.
That might be the most efficient use of ad money I've ever seen in my life. Was that
$10?
$10 for that? That is a bargain.
It is definitely a bargain.
No, I'm interested because I would love to see the Serge character and the Ian character.
Let's see. Grandpa's Play says, I've been on a diet for 11 weeks, started at 361 pounds, and I'm at 307 pounds. Man,
Wow.
11 weeks, that is awesome, man. That is absolutely awesome.
Cheers, bro. Don't stop, Grandpa.
It does get harder as you lose weight, though.
Sure. Well, the bigger you are, the faster it is.
Burning 5,000 calories a day. Yeah.
It like you said, as you burn more, it gets harder to lose the last little bit.
Gotta maintain.
Well, I mean, it's not. Now, if you're trying to get rid of the last little bit, you really do. When I got into the best shape that I'd ever been in, like I was doing cardio twice a day, morning and evening, and I was literally eating like 4 meals of just chicken and rice. I did that for like 6 weeks, and I was shredded. I was shredded at the end of that. But, you know, it's tough to eat chicken and rice 4 meals a day for 6 weeks. That is not easy. And doing, 40 minutes in the morning, 40 minutes at night, in addition to regular lifting and stuff. It was hard, but man.
I am not looking forward to prep.
What?
Do you use any kind of spices?
Well, yeah.
Oh, you have
I'm
to.
just sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's straight. You know what I mean?
There's also like there are a couple barbecue sauces that you can use that are sugar free and stuff that actually
makes life
help and
easier.
Stuff.
G. Hughes, sugar-free barbecue sauce.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Let's see. Jimmy says Trump said the border wall is moral because the Vatican has a wall. He said this after the dumb Pope decided to mouth off about his policy. Look, man. I have ideas about the Pope, and he seems like a weird Pope to me. So
They're all weird popes.
Well, they're like John Paul is the.
I'm sorry,
is the
my
Pope
bad, Mary. I didn't mean no
She's
offense.
sharp.
I wasn't trying to bring you into this either, but like Pope John Paul, to my recollection, Pope John Paul was like a pretty legitimate pope, right? He was kind of like what you would expect a Catholic pope to be like, and then
What would you expect a Catholic pope to be?
like a Catholic,
Pope.
like a Catholic, like actually do things that you would expect.
you?
Well, so he was against abortion. He didn't make excuses for abortion or things like.
Is against abortion.
Pope Francis is.
Yes.
Yes,
he is.
He doesn't come off. He doesn't speak clearly about it as far as my understanding has been. So again, I could be wrong, but I think that the liberation theology that some Catholics practice is a bit of a bastardization of Catholicism. It's a lot of left-leaning influence on Catholicism.
Not totally sure what you mean by liberation theology.
Well, we should probably talk about it not here.
Maybe we'll find another time to talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I hate to get in between the Protestants and Catholics fighting as a Protestant right now, but
Phil's Catholic.
Reformation
just for the
Wars
record,
vibes.
Phil's Catholic.
I have my girlfriend Mary and I have been to Catholic Mass multiple times, so and we're going again this Sunday. So
Wicked. I want to interrupt because we have a breaking update from Nick Sorter on the horrifying tower cam moment you guys can watch here. Apparently, it says it's a mass casualty event. Rescue boats are reportedly pulling bodies to the water. See the impact right there?
Oh,
That's
geez.
terrible.
Louise.
something hit something in the air. The
Yeah, they're
helicopter.
saying it was a helicopter striking a plane.
Wow.
Plane is crashing a helicopter while landing at Reagan National Airport near Washington, D.C. Fatalities have been reported. Mass search and rescue operation is happening in the Potomac River.
Nick's in D.C. right now.
Yes,
Wonderful
yes,
cover
that's
it,
why
yeah.
he's on scene right now
Yeah,
reporting.
yeah.
So I just wanted to point this out, guys. Fox reporting that it was a military helicopter that's coming from our personal Slack. We can't corroborate that. We don't really know right now, but that would make sense. Military's on different continents.
Yeah, I mean, if you drive around that area, there are you see Blackhawks going
All the time.
to and from the Pentagon all
the
the time.
Pentagon, right.
The Pentagon's right there. You, literally, like going to DCA, I pass the Pentagon every single time that I go to DCA, and it's totally normal to see Blackhawks flying around that area. And considering it's nighttime,
It's terrible. I had this similar situation happen to me last year where we took off from Greenville Airport, and all of a sudden the airport plane just went like in a straight climb and then came back down. And we're like, what happened? He said a medical flight took off and just went left instead of right.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, it easily could have ended up like that. But I mean, I always thought about like, what would happen? Now we know that's not a good thing.
Yeah, you can, and there's a lot of traffic over there. Whether it be just in DCA, but it's not just DCA. There's a lot of things in the air all the time. So that's
thoughts and
terrible.
prayers as well.
Oof, yeah, that's terrible.
That's yeah, man.
All right, so let's see. Rogue Nomad says, "Hell yes, Shawn Hendrix. Thank you for all you've done for us in Western North Carolina, man.
Oh,
Let's go. Awesome.
You have been kicking ASS, my friend. By the way,
I appreciate it. It's been quite the experience. I feel like I've lived a lifetime in the last 4 months.
no doubt. She's, yeah.
St. Miles says, really loving Mary's presence on the show tonight. It adds a nice contrast to today's subjects, Christian and young.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Let's see. Ted Thornton says, every school day should start with the pledge, followed by the shredded bald eagle with guns video. America. I mean, look, I'm not 100% sure I'm on board with the pledge, but the shredded bald eagle with the guns video, I'm backing that.
How dare you say that? What? You're not okay with you're not on board with the
Pledge of Allegiance
to the
was
flag?
written by a socialist in order to sell flags.
I take back everything I just said. I'll have to read up on this.
That's true.
That's
I'll have to read up
absolutely
on
true.
So do you not
I
say
got
the
reading
pledge?
tonight.
I don't say the pledge, no.
I love the idea
I
of
don't
it,
know
but
about
if
the
it's
history
socialism,
of it.
yeah.
Prayer in schools.
I'm fine.
Prayer.
I'm fine with prayer in schools.
can dig
But
that.
when it comes to the Pledge of Allegiance, right? Like you're pledging allegiance to the flag, right?
Of the United States
The
of America.
point isn't to pledge allegiance. Like pledging allegiance to a flag misses the point.
worshiping
If
the
we were
cross.
if you were pledging allegiance to the Constitution,
Gotcha.
then that might be something worth doing.
Sure.
Pledging allegiance, because I mean that's when
Well, it's
like
for which it stands.
Right.
One nation,
Under God.
indivisible.
I'm not.
It's not the flag in and of itself. It's
Pledge
for which
allegiance
it
to the
stands.
flag. And,
like that.
and to
Mary-
the republic for which
Mary
it
wins.
stands.
Mary
Yeah,
wins.
I mean, I understand
It
that.
does say and two, which
Yeah.
means it does say both the flag and.
Yeah, but again, it was in my opinion, because it was written by a socialist who
What
had,
was this person's name?
I forget his name. You want to?
I'll do it. I'll do it while you guys talk.
Francis Scott Key, or is that the Declaration?
No,
Or-
Francis Scott Keys did the Star
Oh,
Spangled
that's
Banner.
Star Spangled Banner. That's right. yeah.
Venkata Subba Rao?
That was fast. How'd you?
No,
do
no,
that?
no. It's not the same.
Okay.
No.
Different one.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I don't like the idea of the pledge of the.
Francis Bellamy in 1892.
I went to Bellamy.
Bellamy was an American Baptist minister and Christian socialist.
There it is.
The original version of the pledge is part of a magazine promotion for the World's Columbian Exposition, which celebrated the 400th anniversary of Christopher Columbus's arrival in the Americas.
Yikes, Christopher Columbus. I don't like those guys too much.
I'm not entirely sure what it
what?
means to be a Christian socialist,
Yeah, that's yeah.
especially in 1892.
This is the liberation theology conversation that we can have later. But
Let's
he
get
was
back to
he was.
Super Dads.
I went to Bellamy Middle School, and
nice.
Edward Bellamy was it was pretty well known that he was a socialist, and
Edward Bellamy or Francis Bellamy? Is it a different
I'm sorry,
person?
Francis Bellamy.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, and you know, look, I'm as patriotic as they get, right? Like, I mean, I got the 13 colonies flag on my arm.
Definitely not questioning that, my friend.
So, but I personally don't think that, you know, pledging allegiance. You know, I stand for the national anthem.
All the time.
I'm not the guy that, you know, I take my hat off for the national anthem, even if I haven't shaved my head and I got a weird haircut or something like that. The hat comes off, and I'll put my hand over my heart while the pledge is done, but I don't recite it myself. So.
Just a quick update as well. It looks like it was an American Airlines regional that had a mid-air collision with a police helicopter.
Oh,
So
A regional, so we're like a 50-60 seater. It's a
Watch
big
it be a
plane.
criminal
Something like
alien
that,
there. A criminal alien they're going after.
maybe.
I'm
I
just
doubt
throwing
it.
that out there. It's super conspiracy theory.
Yeah, tragic, truly. You got one more there.
so yeah. Let's see. You got time for one more. The Draken says Congress should codify the term "the people" as used throughout the Constitution to something like the first sentence of the 14th Amendment. 10th Circuit Court pulled a definition out their asses that only pertains to 2A. I'm not sure about the context of this here.
Yeah, just 2A.
Well, yeah, I mean,
I figured I'd throw it at you.
yeah, the 10th Circuit Court, I don't know which. There's a couple cases that are before the Supreme Court now that are actually important regarding whether or not there can be semi-automatic rifle bans and whether or not there can be magazine capacity bans. But I don't know if they went to the 10th Circuit or if he's referring to those two. So we're still waiting to find out if the court is going to hear those two cases. And I'm hoping that they will in this session because these questions need to be answered. Can a semi-automatic rifle be banned just because the state or a state says that rifle is scary? And the argument that I believe is no. Because, shall not be infringed is pretty clear.
One more, I think. Pick one of these ones, whichever one you feel is a cool one.
Okay, let's see. Useless Humor says, I've been up and down from 500 to 300 about 7 times in the last 10 years. Check gut biome. Okay, that is a hell of a fluctuation, my man.
Yeah.
And I hope that you're like 6'4", because if you're like my height, going from 500 to 300 to 500, that is crazy.
Yeah, it's wild.
Glory Farm Knox says, thank you for reading my Super Chat Monday. I've had 140 new subs on my YouTube channel and a bunch of people signed up for the seed giveaway. That is great to hear.
Sweet ass.
So, all right, everybody, smash the like button, share the show with your friends, go to timcast.com and become a member. John, would you like to shout anything out?
Go follow me on X at the Shawn Hendrix.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Mary, where can people find you?
You can find me
In church.
in church, or you can find me on Pop Culture Crisis. We go live every Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern, or you can follow me on Instagram and X at Mary Archived.
Raymond G. Stanley Jr. You can find me on X, wherever in the world. Also, let's give a shout out to Tim. Hopefully he gets healthy soon, and hopefully we're holding. I know we are holding. Phil is holding down the fort like a champ, and that's pretty awesome. Phil?
I am Phil That Remains on Twix. I'm Phil That Remains official on Instagram. The band is All That Remains. And this Friday, our 10th full-length record is going to be available. It is called Anti-Fragile. Go to Spotify and pre-save that bad boy right now if you want to check out some songs. Forever Cold, Let You Go, No Tomorrow, and Divine are available on YouTube, Amazon Music, Apple Music, Spotify, Pandora, and Deezer. Don't forget The Left Lane is for Crime. And we will see you all tomorrow.